Hello my dragonic drainages, it's your boy Eenoch Blader and welcome back to another worst to best video. In this video we will be ranking every Dragonoid Core released in Bakugan Armored Alliance from worst to best. We will be ranking them based off their overall stats and effects, their evolutions, and their use in decks. But enough talk, let's get on with the list. Number 6. Hydorous Dragonoid Core. This will probably be a common occurrence for Bakugan of the Hydorous faction in this series, as this faction is severely underpowered in Armored Alliance. Hydorous Dragonoid Core has no evolution, and while that isn't a deal breaker many times, in this case, what does make it a deal breaker is that it has the accursed double Green Fist Core lineup, as well as a stat line of 402, which even when taking the best cores in the game from another Bakugan, it is still below the minimum 1300 B power or 10 damage we want to see from Bakugan we use in a team in base form. Hydorous Dragonoid Core does have an epic character card that allows you to retract the Bakugan when you attach a gear to this, but it isn't really worth using, making Hydorous Dragonoid Core the worst Dragonoid Core released in Armored Alliance. Number 5. Howlkor Dragonoid Core. Howlkor Dragonoid Core is nothing special with its base 502 stat line, however what is great is its core lineup of Fire Fist and Helix, which is great for stat boosting. Howlkor Dragonoid does have a 1-cost hyper evolution with the stat line of 704, which is an improvement over its base form, and the effect of gaining the boost effect of 300 B power and 6 damage when you have 7 or more energy. While this increase in stats is nice, boost is kind of annoying to get off, and compared to other playstyles in the game, it is just too slow. Also, because it is Howlkor, since the faction has so much competition with Hydorous, Howlkor Dragonoid really isn't worth using. Number 4. Darkest Dragonoid Core. Darkest Dragonoid Core is a Bakugan exclusive to the blind boxes. So with such rarity, how does it fare? Well, it's nothing special. It has a magic shield in its core lineup, which is nice, but the stat line of 306, which really doesn't take advantage of the cores. To make most of it in base form, you would have to trade a damage boosting core to hit over 10 damage in a damage wins play. This Bakugan does have a 6-cost Maximus evolution with the stat line of 1108 and the effect of being able to search the top 5 cards of your deck for a Baku gear and playing the found Baku gear for free and putting the rest of the cards back in any order. This is a really cool effect, allowing you to possibly get a Baku gear for free, as well as arranging the next few future cards you get in any order, which can lead to a strategic advantage depending on the deck you're playing. This Bakugan is pretty nice, however because its evolution is a 6-cost on top of having a mediocre base form, since the Darkest faction has Bakugan that are strong in base form, it is a tough sell, especially since you absolutely need this Bakugan's evolution to be good. An evolution that comes once per case in a blind box, so it could possibly run you hundreds of dollars to get a playset, which isn't cool, especially since there are great Darkest Bakugan that are better in most cases that can be played without breaking the bank. Number 3. Hydorous Dragonoid Core. A pretty underappreciated Bakugan that unfortunately isn't in a faction that's desirable for what it does. This is a Bakugan for damage wins plays, but on top of that also has a great core to spare. Hydorous Dragonoid has the stat line of 307. The 7 damage is great as with its core lineup it can hit 10 damage or more for a highest damage wins play. Preferably, you use the +3 Green Fist Core to hit 10 damage and have the Helix Core as a spare, which is really good. Unfortunately, Hydorous isn't really a faction that yearns for highest damage wins plays. Usually you use that for Pyrus or Darkest Bakugan instead, and those two factions do have comparable or better Bakugan for damage wins plays, keeping Hydorous Dragonoid Core back. Number 2. Pyrus Dragonoid Core. Hydorous Dragonoid Core is a Bakugan with the stat line of 404 and the accursed double Green Fist Core lineup. However, Hydorous Dragonoid Core makes use of its Green Fist by gaining 6 damage when on a Green Fist, which means when on the +3 Green Fist, this Bakugan hits a spicy 13 damage, which is great for damage wins plays. Hydorous Dragonoid is actually the best budget option for Hydorous damage wins plays Bakugan in the game, earning its spot on the list. Number 1. Ventus Dragonoid Core. Not only the best Dragonoid Core in Armed Alliance, but also one of the best Bakugan in the game right now. First of all, it has an amazing core lineup of Helix and Magic Shield. The only core lineup better for B-Power focus builds is Double Magic Shield. Its base form is okay at 602, though it doesn't hit that 1300 base B-Power I like to see, missing it by just a hair. However, what makes this Bakugan so great is its evolution, Ventus Maximus Dragonoid. It's a 5-cost evolution with the stat line of 1207, and this is pretty average. However, what makes this so great is its trifecta effect of allowing this card to be played for free if you have 3 or more Bakugors attached to your Bakugan, which is very easy to get off, as just using this Bakugan as your 3rd attacker should have your Bakugan at least 3 Bakugors attached to the team once this Bakugan opens on a core. Meaning you have a free 1800 plus B-Power Bakugan, which is hard to get over. This trifecta effect makes this Bakugan amazing on top of having its great core lineup, making Ventus Dragonoid Core the best Dragonoid Core in Bakugan Armed Alliance. Oh yeah, there's also the Blind Box exclusive Titan Evolution, but let's not talk about that. Well, this has been Zeonic Blader with my worst to best video. What do you think? Do you agree or disagree? Let me know in the comment section below, and be sure to let me know your favorite Dragonoid Core from Bakugan Armed Alliance. And if you like this video, hit the like button. Or don't, I'm not the boss of you, but be sure to subscribe and hit the notification bell so you get updated whenever I upload. Until next time, see ya. Hello my Dragonic drawers, it's your boy Zeonic Blader, and in this video I will be ranking each Dragonoid Ultra released in Bakugan Armored Alliance from worst to best. We will be basing this list off the Bakugan's base stats and effects, their evolutions, and their use in decks. But enough talk, let's get on with the list. Number 6. Hydorous Dragonoid Ultra. With this Bakugan, we are seeing base stats that would have been fine in year 1, but it isn't year 1 anymore. 800 base B power is what you wanted back when this Bakugan was released. And on top of that, those Bakugan even had a magic shield, while Hydorous Dragonoid Ultra just comes with 2 green fists. Number 5. Ventus Dragonoid Ultra. Not much better than Hydorous Dragonoid Ultra, but when on the plus 400 shield core, it hits 1100 B power, which while not that good, is better than what Hydorous Dragonoid Ultra could reach. Plus, with a damage boosting shield core, Ventus Dragonoid Ultra reaches the same 6 damage Hydorous Dragonoid Ultra would reach on the plus 3 fist core. Even then, this Bakugan isn't that good, giving it the number 5 spot. Number 4. Aquos Dragonoid Ultra. Aquos Dragonoid Ultra has an amazing core lineup with Magic Shield and Fire Fist, and on the plus 650 Magic Shield, it reaches 1250 B power, which is a bit too low for what we want to see. Before the release of Aquos Howlkor Ultra, it may have seen a spot in a mono Aquos deck for those that just really liked the design and didn't mind sacrificing some stats to have Dragonoid on the team. But with the release of Aquos Howlkor Ultra in Geogon Rising, this Bakugan has lost that spot, as now the stat difference is much higher. Number 3, Aurelus Dragonoid Ultra. While Aurelus isn't that good in this format, if you wanted to use an Aurelus Bacchion for damage wins plays, Aurelus Dragonoid Ultra is a solid option, with it having the effect of gaining 6 damage when on a Helix Core. If you land on the -200 +5 Helix Core, you're hitting a solid 12 damage. Aurelus Dragonoid Ultra has a 2-cost Hyper Evolution that bumps the B power to 800 and the effect boost to 11, which would make it hit 17 damage when on the -200 +5 Helix Core. Now, Aurelus is pretty weak due to their lack of support they give with their cards, and the next two Dragonoids are better, giving Aurelus Dragonoid Ultra the number 3 spot. Number 2, Darkus Dragonoid Ultra. Darkus Dragonoid Ultra is pretty much Aurelus Dragonoid Ultra, but better in every way. Same solid damage, a better damage boosting core in its core lineup, and it's a Darkus Bacchion, which lets it bring in the Darkus card pool, which is much better than the Aurelus card pool. Darkus Dragonoid Ultra has a stat line of 503 and the effect of gaining 200 B power and 4 damage when on a Fire Fist. You can ignore the B power boost, as we are mainly looking at this Bacchion for the damage, as after the effect boost, when on the +6 Fire Fist, Darkus Dragonoid Ultra is at a spicy 13 damage. Darkus Dragonoid Ultra also has a 2-cost Hyper Evolution with the stat line of 708, but for some reason loses the effect, essentially making this Bacchion a 2-cost just to gain 1 extra damage, which has to be some kind of sick joke. You are better off ignoring this evolution and just using the base form and using that 2 energy on something else. Number 1, Pyrus Dragonoid Ultra. The budget B power king back in Armored Alliance. The 900 base B power was some of the highest non-boosted B power in the game back when it was released. It maxes out at 1300 B power with its own shield core, however, this is a Bacchion that would be great for core swapping. Just have a Bacchion that has a magic shield or Helix Core it doesn't need, and wouldn't mind a Fire Fist like Darkus Sairus Ultra, and you are golden. Pyrus Dragonoid Ultra has 2 evolutions, a Diamond Evolution that's a 10 cost with the stat line of 2010, and the Victor ability of gaining 5 momentary energy when you win a brawl, which can be good, but it is a bit situational since it is a Victor ability and you may have already used the best cards to win the brawl, but you may be able to bump up the damage a bit more or play an extra hero card or evolution with that extra energy, so it isn't all that bad. You can cheese this with Divine Intervention, which lets you play an evolution for free if you land the reroll, but I feel there are better targets for that card. The other evolution Dragonoid Ultra has is the 6-cost Maximus Evolution that has the stat line of 1608 and the Victor ability of being able to play a rapid fire card from your discard pile for free. I find this evolution better than the Diamond one because it is cheaper to use, but I feel like having it as a Victor ability is wasted potential. If it had some rapid fire synergy similar to Maximus Darkus Nillious, that would have been awesome, but overall, Pyrus Dragonoid Ultra is great because of its base form, giving it the number 1 spot. Well, this has been Zeonic Blader with my worst to best video. What do you think? Do you agree or disagree? Let me know in the comment section below, and be sure to let me know your favorite Dragonoid Ultra from Bakugan Armored Alliance. And if you like this video, hit the like button, or don't, I'm not the boss of you, but be sure to subscribe and hit the notification bell so you get updated whenever I upload. Until next time, see ya! Hello my late lemurs, it's your boy Zeonic Blader, and okay, I know this is weird, but I recently made 2 big videos that took a bit more time to finish, and I don't want to miss out on a daily upload. I have been waiting for the Shields of Astroya card set to be revealed, But at this point, it's taking way too long, so I decided I will just get on with Season 2 of my ranking videos with what I can do. And the first one that comes to mind is Ultima Dragonoid, the exclusive Bakugan behind an $80 paywall. I mean a video game. With this worst to best, we will be ranking the Bakugan based on their overall stats, their evolutions, and their use in decks. But enough talk, let's get on with the list. Number 1. Hydorous Ultima Dragonoid. This Bakugan is currently the best Hydorous Bakugan in the game. As you can see, it does have a double Green Fist core lineup, and while that is a detriment, what makes this Bakugan so good is with its base 1001 stat line. Ultima Dragonoid was the first Bakugan to break 1000 B power in base form before any effect or core boosts. Because of that, while it does have 2 Green Fist cores, brawlers that have spare cores to share in their Bakugan team are able to get this Bakugan to B powers like 1600 and even more. And yes, it does have 2 Green Fists, and while another type of core would be better, Ultima Dragonoid turns this curse into a blessing by having the effect of gaining 6 damage when on a Green Fist, meaning when on a +3 Green Fist, this Bakugan is a nice 10 damage, which makes this a Bakugan suitable for a highest damage wins play. This flexibility of playstyles for this Bakugan in only its base form makes it one of the best Bakugan in the game when it's paired with the right partner. Well, this has been Eenoch Ultra with my worst to best list for Ultima Dragonoid. Agree? Disagree? Let me know in the comment section below, and if you liked the video, hit the like button. Or don't, I'm not the boss of you, but be sure to subscribe and hit the notification bell so you get updated whenever I upload. Until next time, see ya! Hello my fusion french fries, it's your boy Eenoch Ultra, and in this video I will be ranking each Dragonoid x Tretorous from worst to best. I will be ranking them by their overall competitive viability in the Bakugan Pro game. But enough talk, let's get on with the list. Disclaimer, due to Shields of Vestroia not being out, and many Fusion Bakugan having epic character cards in that set, this list is subject to change, and once that set comes out, I will hopefully be able to make an updated list. Number 6. Hydorous Ultra Dragonoid Tretorous. With a Shield and Fire Fist in its core lineup, unfortunately its stats of 601 are too low to really take advantage of the Fire Fist. Hydorous Ultra Dragonoid Tretorous needs 5 energy to fuse, and it isn't really anything special. Its stats bump up to 1005, but for 5 energy, that's something we would have seen from an evolution back in year 1. Number 5. Ventus Chaos Dragonoid Tretorous. We got an amazing core lineup of Magic Shield and Fire Fist, but unfortunately a stat line of 602, which is too low to really do much with its blessed core lineup. It fuses for a whopping 10 energy, which bumps its stats to 2015. Honestly, the reason why it's so high up on the list is because of its core lineup. The cost to fuse is just way too high, and it's not really worth it. Number 4. Ventus Ultra Dragonoid Tretorous. The core lineup is nice with a Fire Fist and Green Fist, but once again its stat line of 303 is too low to really make use of the Fire Fist. It costs 5 energy to fuse, and its stats are a solid 1507. Unfortunately, its base form is just too weak, which is bringing it down. Number 3. Aquos Ventus Dragonoid Tretorous. With a nice core lineup of Green Fist and Helix, unfortunately, once again, base stats are too low at 602, however its fusion cost is at 4, letting it reach 1000 B power and 6 damage, as well as having a Shadow Strike ability after it fuses, which isn't too bad, since because of Shadow Strike, it doesn't have to worry about the Helix Core's damage reduction when on the plus 600 -3 Helix Core. That being said, since this Bakugan takes a slot as an Aquos Bakugan in the team before fusion, it's probably better just to stick with Aquos Hydorous. Number 2. Pyrus Darkus Dragonoid Tretorous. One of the few fusion Bakugan in the game that I actually like. It has an amazing core lineup of Magic Shield and Fire Fist and a stat line of 304. On the +6 Fire Fist, it can hit the 10 damage minimum we want to see for a highest damage wins play. However, because its fusion cost is at 3, allowing it to fuse within the first few turns of the game, its base form stats are pretty much irrelevant. When fused, the stats bump up to 1005, and since it is fused, it can take advantage of fusion-only Baku cores like the +8 Fire Fist, which bumps the damage to 13, and the +800 Magic Shield, which lets this Bakugan have 1800 B power, which is great within the first few turns of the game. There is a 5-cost Diamond Evolution with a stat line of 1407, but honestly, I would just ignore it since its fused form is already strong. Number 1. Chaos Pyrus Dragonoid Tretorous. I think this may be the best fusion Bakugan in the game. It has a nice core lineup of Magic Shield and Green Fist, and a stat line of 603. Just like its Pyrus Darkest counterpart, it fuses for only 3 energy, which bumps up the stats to 1200 B power and 5 damage, which is amazing, as when on the +800 fusion only Magic Shield, Chaos Pyrus Dragonoid X Tretorous is at a whopping 2000 B power, which is why I think this is the best fusion Bakugan yet, though I still need to look at the other fusion Bakugan in future videos, but still, I have a great feeling about this Bakugan. Well, this has been Eenoch Blader with my worst to best video. What do you think? Do you agree or disagree? Let me know in the comment section below, and be sure to let me know your favorite Dragonoid X Tretorous from Bakugan Armored Alliance. And if you like this video, hit the like button or don't. I'm not the boss of you, but be sure to subscribe and hit the notification bell so you get updated whenever I upload. Until next time, see ya. Hello my forensic fusions, it's your boy Eenoch Blader and welcome to another worst to best video. Did you know one of the first ever fusion Bakugan to get revealed was Dragonoid X Auxillataur Ultra? Back then, the idea of fusions were amazing. Bakugan that could get stronger like an evolution, but you didn't actually have to draw for the evolution. You just had to pay the cost and flip the character card over to increase the Bakugan stats. In this worst to best video, we will be ranking all the Dragonoid X Auxillataur Ultras. Yes, indeed, all one of them. We will be ranking them based off their overall stats, their fusion side, and their use in decks. But enough talk, let's get on with the list. Number 1. Lo and behold, Pyrus Aurelis Dragonoid X Auxillataur Ultra. The only one of its kind, and it's an exclusive locked behind the Dragonoid Infinity toy. While it was the first fusion Bakugan we ever saw, and we were excited by the idea of fusions back then, this particular one wasn't that good, to be honest. It has a core lineup of double Fire Fist, which is amazing. Unfortunately, it has a base stat line of 801, which doesn't take advantage of the Fire Fist high damage boosts. You can reach 1050 B power on the +250 +3 Fire Fist, but those stats, even back when this was released, aren't good. You can fuse it for 8 energy, but for the cost and what you get, it really isn't worth it at all. Especially when you have Dragonoid X Tretorous existing in the same format as this Bakugan, and while costing so much less both in-game to fuse and in real life to buy. I know because this is an exclusive Bakugan, there is a sentimental connection for some brawlers with this Bakugan, so I'll throw you a bone and give you what I think is a solid team to use this Bakugan with. First off, Darkus Sairus Ultra. With 2 magic shields and a damage rating of 5, this Bakugan is just begging to swap cores with Dragonoid X Auxillataur. letting Sairus hit 11 damage on the +6 Fire Fist, which is great for damage wins plays, and Dragonoid X Auxillataur hitting 1450 B power on the +650 Magic Shield, which is just great in general. The third Bakugan for the team I would recommend is Aqua's Hydorous, since it's the best Aqua's Bakugan in the game, and with the combination of Aqua's and Darkus, you can play Pyrus Sync, which is always solid. Well, this has been Eenoch Blader with my worst to best for Dragonoid X Auxillataur. Do you agree or disagree? Let me know in the comment section below, and if you like the video, hit the like button. Or don't, I'm not the boss of you, but be sure to subscribe and hit the notification bell so you get updated whenever I upload. Until next time, see ya. Hello my lazy lions, it's your boy Eenoch Blader and welcome back to another episode of Worst to Best. In this episode we will be ranking each Hydorous Core released in Bakugan Arm Alliance from worst to best. We will be basing out the ranking of them by their base stats and effects, their evolutions, and their use in decks. But enough talk, let's get on with the list. Number 6, Ventus Hydorous Core. The only thing this Bakugan has going for it is its great core lineup. Fire Fist and Helix are a great combination that's unfortunately wasted on a Bakugan that isn't good in any shape or form because of its low stats. Even when maximizing its 400 B power, it doesn't reach any good numbers. This Bakugan does have an epic character card with the added effect of when it opens, each player reveals the top card of their deck. If yours cost more, then Hydorous gains 300 B power and 3 damage. With this effect, Hydorous finally hits the 300 B power we want after landing on a +600 Helix Core, but even then, to have to gamble just to reach the bare minimum isn't worth it at all. Number 5, Pyrus Hydorous Core. Now, while the core lineup for this Bakugan isn't good, at the very least, if for some reason you used another Bakugan's +6 Fire Fist, this Bakugan would reach 10 damage, which is the minimum we like to see for highest damage wins plays. But to be honest, this still is far from good. Number 4, Darkus Hydorous Core. Same reasoning as Pyrus Hydorous Core, but it has one more damage than Pyrus Hydorous Core, making it a little bit better. It also has a 3-cost Hyper Evolution with the stat line of 808 and the Victor ability of forcing your opponent to discard a card if they play a flip card. Yeah, that's the sort of punishment they deserve if they lose to this. Number 3, Chaos Hydorous Core. This Bakugan has a Fire Fist core, which is great, especially since it has a stat line of 306, meaning it hits 12 damage on the +6 Fire Fist. While not the best in terms of damage, on top of being in a faction that isn't really used for highest damage wins plays, this Bakugan still could see some play in maybe a Chaos Pyrus build if you really wanted to make this Bakugan work. Number 2, Aurelius Hydorous Core. When this Bakugan was first released, there was some worry since it was an exclusive behind those horrible cardboard stadiums, and for good reason too. It has a stat line of 802 and has a Fire Fist core to boot. So while it wouldn't make the most of its B power alone, if it swaps for a magic shield with a Bakugan that would rather boost its damage, it would reach a nice 1450 B power. Plus, its 6-cost evolution with the stat line of 1010 had the effect of being able to play a Bakugear from your hand for free, so if any super OP expensive Bakugears came out in the future, this Bakugan would cheese it into play. Luckily, nothing so far has come out to warrant using the 6-cost evolution, but still, the future is in the shadows. Number 1, Aquos Hydorous Core. So far, the Hydorous Cores we looked at haven't been anything special. However, Aquos Hydorous Core is ranked number 1 by a huge margin. Aquos Hydorous changed the game when it was released. The cap for B power in base form using one's own cores jumped from 1450 in Battle Planet with Aurelius Hydorous Ultra to 1500 with Aquos Hydorous Core. Helix cores were held in higher regard now, and with the combination of bringing in the amazing Aquos card pool, Aquos Hydorous Core took the spot Aurelus Bacchion had in year 1 and did it better. No longer did you have one Aurelus Bacchion in the team for high stats, now you used Aquos Hydorous in the team for high stats. On top of that, this Bacchion was also budget friendly and widely accessible, being available in multiple products that were released throughout the year. And as an icing on the cake, not only was this Bacchion great for B power, but also could be used in damage wins plays, hitting 14 damage when on the -200 +5 Helix core. Aquos Hydorous also has a really strong diamond evolution, actually the best diamond evolution out there. Even so, this Bacchion is so good in base form, you can go without using the evolution. Because of how impactful and great this Bacchion is, it is not only the #1 Hydorous Core released in Armored Alliance, it is arguably the #1 Bacchion released in this season. Well, this has been Zeonic Blader with my worst to best video. What do you think? Do you agree or disagree? Let me know in the comment section below, and be sure to tell me your favorite Hydorous Core from Bacchion Armored Alliance. And if you like this video, hit the like button. Or don't, I'm not the boss of you, but be sure to subscribe and hit the notification bell so you get updated whenever I upload. Until next time, see ya. Hello my howling hamsters, it's your boy Zeonic Blader, and in this video I will be ranking each Hydorous Ultra from Bacchion Armored Alliance from worst to best. We will be basing this list off the Bacchion's base stats and effects, their evolutions, and their use in decks. But enough talk, let's get on with the list. Number 6, Ventus Hydorous Ultra. This Bacchion is currently unreleased and is probably cancelled. However, I do know it has a stat line of 500 B power and 4 damage. Its cores are not known, but it would need at least a Fire Fist to reach 10 damage on the +6 Fire Fist for a highest damage wins play. Number 5, Pyrus Hydorous Ultra. Honestly, I really think the Hydorous Ultra line as a whole was pretty bad in Armored Alliance, which is a shame since in Battle Planet it was actually solid. So it was pretty hard to make this list because I find most of these Bacchion really close in power. However, with Pyrus Hydorous Ultra, the only redeeming quality for it is its amazing core lineup of Magic Shield and Helix. Unfortunately, its stat line of 503 is too low to reach the desired 1350 B power or 10 damage minimum we want to see, and to be honest, nowadays the minimum for B power is probably more like 1450. Its 2-cost Hyper Evolution doesn't really help it much, as its stat line of 704 is something I would expect from a Bacchion that are almost good in base form. It does have an effect that if you evolve this Bacchion and your Hydorous Ultra already had a Baku Gear attached to it, you gain 3 momentary energy, which doesn't really make up for the poor stats. Number 4, Darkus Hydorous Ultra. We have a poor core lineup for this Bacchion, but at the very least, it has 4 base damage, which means if it lands on the +6 Fire Fist, it has 10 damage, which is our minimum for highest damage wins plays. Darkus Hydorous Ultra also has a 3-cost Hyper Evolution with the stat line of 707 and the Shadow Strike ability. This evolution is also a rapid fire card, so if it's the second rapid fire card played in that turn, it can be played for free. However, the Darkus slot for rapid fire has already been taken by Darkus Maximus Nillious Core, so there's no reason to use this Bacchion in a rapid fire deck. Number 3, Chaos Hydorous Ultra. Similar to Darkus Hydorous Ultra, however, Chaos Hydorous Ultra has more damage, so it's ranked higher. Number 2, Aquos Hydorous Ultra. Similar to Chaos and Darkest Hydorous Ultra, however, Aquos Hydorous Ultra actually brings its own Fire Fist, so it doesn't need to take another Bakugan's core. Number 1. Aurelius Hydorous Ultra. This is the first Hydorous Ultra in Armored Alliance that may actually be solid. The base stats are nothing special, but it does have a Helix core, which is nice. However, where it gets interesting is with its 4-cost Titan evolution. It has the stat line of 1206, which is solid, and the effect of being able to be played for free if your opponent reduced damage with an armor rating when taking damage. Unfortunately, it isn't a thing right now because Shields of Vestroia isn't out yet, and we don't know when it will be out. So we don't know how often reducing damage with armor ratings will be, making this effect a lot more situational. Overall, the Hydorous Ultra line is pretty disappointing this year since it's one of the main Bakugan from the show. Fortunately, Aquos Hydorous Core is a powerhouse. Well, this has been Eenoch Blader with my worst to best video. What do you think? Do you agree or disagree? Let me know in the comment section below, and be sure to let me know your favorite Hydorous Ultra from Bakugan Armored Alliance. And if you like this video, hit the like button, or don't. I'm not the boss of you, but be sure to subscribe and hit the notification bell so you get updated whenever I upload. Until next time, see ya. Hello my hypnotizing hurricanes, it's your boy Eenoch Blader, and in this video I will be ranking each Hydorous x Trhyno core from worst to best. I'll be ranking them by their overall competitive viability in the Bakugan Pro game. But enough talk, let's get on with the list. This is a Bakugan that only has one version of it in its mold, and it's a Fusion Battle Bundle exclusive, which is something that may not be available in your area. So is this something that warrants importing? Let's find out. Number 1, Aquos Aurelius Hydorous x Trhyno Core. We got a nice core lineup of Green Fist and Helix and a stat line of 603. These stats really aren't ideal, especially at the time of its release, with it maxing out at 1200 B power when on the plus 600 minus 3 Helix core, and the damage is under the 10 minimum we like to see for a damage wins play. Unfortunately, you will be stuck with these poor stats for a while, as it costs a hefty 8 energy to fuse, and once fused, the stats bump up to 1212, which are balanced, but the B power is going to be maxing out at 1800 when on the plus 600 minus 3 Helix core, which is pretty low for how much this fusion costs, as Dragonoid x Tretorous reaches similar and higher B power for much less energy to fuse. Its damage is fairly high, with it maxing out at 17 when on the plus 5 fusion only Green Fist core. However, once again, the issue is that this damage, while high, isn't worth it because it costs 8 energy to get to. Instead, you would rather use Darkest Ryerazu, who reaches 15 damage in base form, and then use that energy to bump its damage even higher. Overall, despite there being only one version of this Bakugan, it doesn't feel so special due to its poor stats. But then again, many Bakugan are like that, so why would it change here? But anyways, this has been Eenoch Blader with my worst to best video. What do you think? Do you agree or disagree? Let me know in the comment section below, and if you like the video, hit the like button. Or don't, I'm not the boss of you, but be sure to subscribe and hit the notification bell so you get updated whenever I upload. Until next time, see ya. Hello my leisurely lions, it's your boy Eenoch Blader, and in this video I will be ranking each Hydorous x Batrix from worst to best. I will be ranking them by their overall competitive viability in the Bakugan Pro game. But enough talk, let's get on with the list. Due to Wave 6 of Bakugan Armored Alliance being missing as of right now, I will not be including Ventus Chaos Hydorous Batrix in this list. On top of that, due to Shields of Vestroia not being out yet, this list and future lists on Fusion Bakugan are subject to change. Number 5, Aquos Ventus Hydorous X Batrix. A yucky double shield core and a 701 stat line, which would have been solid back in year 1, but not when this Bakugan was released. It costs 4 energy to fuse, which bumps the stats to 1006. When on the plus 500 fusion only shield core, this Bakugan is at 1500 B power. When this Bakugan was released, we had a bunch of Bakugan that were in the 1450 B power range just in base form, so needing 4 energy just to be over it by only 50 B power isn't worth it. Number 4, Aquos Aurelis Hydorous X Batrix. This Bakugan has an amazing core lineup of Magic Shield and Helix. Its base stat line is 505, so at the very least it can hit for 10 damage when on the minus 200 plus 5 Helix core. Unfortunately, it has a fusion cost of 10 energy, which I feel is way too high, even if the stats go up to 2208. Number 3, Darkus Aquos Hydorous X Batrix. A poor core lineup of Shield and Green Fist, and a stat line of 305 with the effect of gaining 500 B power on a Green Fist. Unfortunately, its base stats as well as the boost in B power for Green Fists are too low to really make use of it. However, with a 5 damage rating, it can take another Bakugan's Fire Fist core to reach 11 damage for a damage wins play. This Bakugan needs 5 energy to fuse, bumping up its stats to 1005 and giving it the effect of gaining 500 B power and 5 damage when on a shield core. So if you land on the plus 500 fusion only shield core, you're at a nice 2010 stat line, which is pretty solid. Too bad the meta is so aggressive with really strong base form Bakugan, because this Bakugan is actually pretty cool. Number 2, Chaos Pyrus Hydorous X Batrix. A nice Magic Shield and Shield Core lineup with a stat line of 205, which at the very least, with the 5 base damage, you can core swap for a Fire Fist or a Helix Core to reach that 10 damage minimum we like to see. However, what makes this Bakugan so interesting is that it only costs 1 energy to fuse. Once fused, it reaches 500 B power and 7 damage. I can see this Bakugan in a fusion only deck, swapping its Magic Shield for a plus 8 Fire Fist to reach a nice 15 damage for a damage wins play. Number 1, Pyrus Darkus Hydorous X Batrix. A nice core lineup of Fire Fist and Green Fist with the stat line of 404. However, what makes this Bakugan so great is its fusion cost being a Fire Fist, meaning if you land on a Fire Fist, you can evolve for free, which in turn bumps up its stats to 606. So if you use the plus 8 fusion only Fire Fist, you're hitting for a spicy 14 damage, which, considering you don't need to pay energy to fuse, is actually really great. This is another Bakugan I can see in a mono fusion deck, or even in a deck that wants a Pyrus Bakugan to do a damage wins plays that's willing to have a fusion only Fire Fist core on the field. Well, this has been Eenoch Blader with my worst to best video. What do you think? Do you agree or disagree? Let me know in the comment section below, and be sure to let me know your favorite Hydorous X Batrix from Bakugan Armored Alliance. And if you like this video, hit the like button or don't. I'm not the boss of you, but be sure to subscribe and hit the notification bell so you get updated whenever I upload. Until next time, see ya! Hello, my howling Horatios. It's your boy Eenoch Blader, and welcome to another episode of Worst to Best. In this episode, we will be ranking each Howlkor Core from worst to best. We will be basing our rankings by evaluating the Bakugan by their base stats and effects, their evolutions, and their use in decks. But enough talk, let's get on with the list. Number 6, Aurelis Howlkor Core. These first two on the list are pretty close. However, because Aurelis Howlkor's effect seems like a big troll, it gets the worst spot on the list. Aurelis Howlkor has a core lineup of Magic Shield and Shield, which is good, but a stat line of 401. It does have an effect that boosts its stats, but for some reason, instead of taking advantage of the Magic Shield's B power to help elevate this Bakugan, instead, on the Magic Shield, this Bakugan gains 4 damage, while on the shield, it gains 400 B power, which sucks because the highest B power boosting shield core Aurelus can use is plus 300, making Aurelus Howlkor hit 1100 B power, which isn't really worth it when you think about it, since on the plus 650 Magic Shield core, Howlkor is at 1050. What a shame. Number 5. Howlkor Core. Howlkor has a core lineup of Helix and Shield, which is pretty good, and a stat line of 404, which isn't that good. Howlkor does have an epic character card that, while it does buff up the B power to 500 and give a reroll effect, it's still not worth using. At the very least, taking another Bakugan's plus 6 Fire Fist lets Howlkor hit 10 damage, which can be used for highest damage wins plays. Howlkor does have an evolution available in the blind boxes, the 3-cost Hyper Howlkor with the stat line of 905 and the effect of letting you draw 2 cards when you play this card and a reroll effect. But with how hard it is to get this evolution, it's really not worth the payoff. Number 4. Howlkor Core. Howlkor doesn't have a great core lineup, with it being Green Fist and Shield, but luckily its 7 base damage is there to save it by allowing it to hit 10 damage for those highest damage wins plays. Number 3. Howlkor Core. Stepping up a bit from Howlkor, Howlkor has a great core lineup of 2 Fire Fists and a stat line of 305, letting it hit a nice 11 damage when on the plus 6 Fire Fist, with it having another Fire Fist to spare. Number 2. Howlkor Core. 1 step forward and 1 step back with this one, as while the base damage is 7 damage and hits 13 on a plus 6 Fire Fist, it doesn't have a spare Fire Fist like Howlkor. Number 1. Howlkor Core. Now, its base form isn't anything special. Its core lineup is good with a Helix core, but its stats are poor at 502. What makes this Bakugan number 1 is its epic character card that has the added effect of, at the start of the game, deal your opponent 2 Pyrus damage. Now, while it may be a drop in the bucket for most cases, because of this effect, it does play a part in a 1-turn kill combo that has yet to be taken out of the game officially. To learn more, check out my video about it in the info card or the description below. Well, this has been Zeonic Blader with my worst to best video. What do you think? Do you agree or disagree? Let me know in the comment section below, and be sure to let me know your favorite Howlkor Core from Bakugan Armored Alliance. And if you like this video, hit the like button. Or don't, I'm not the boss of you. But be sure to subscribe and hit the notification bell so you get updated whenever I upload. Until next time, see ya. Hello my borking borkerinos, it's your boy Zeonic Blader, and in this video, I will be ranking each Howlkor Ultra from worst to best. We will be basing this list off the Bakugan's base stats and effects, their evolutions, and their use in decks. But enough talk, let's get on with the list. Number 5. Howlkor Ultra. This is your usual bad Bakugan, mediocre stats and a poor core lineup. It at least has a 5 base damage, which means taking another Bakugan's Fire Fist will get you 11 damage on the plus 6 Fire Fist. But other than that, this Bakugan isn't worth using. Number 4. Howlkor Ultra. Not much better than its Pyrus counterpart. Number 3. Howlkor Ultra. Nothing special again, with it having a shield and fist core lineup and the 404 stat line, but it does have an epic character card that adds the effect of gaining 200 B power and 2 damage for each Baku gear attached to it, which is okay, but with the effect maxing out after 2 Baku gears, it really isn't worth using because of the poor base stats. It does have a 7 cost Maximus evolution with the stat line of 1505 and the same effect, but with the boost of 500 B power and 5 damage instead. It being a 7 cost really limits this Bakugan's use, and it probably isn't worth the headache for all the energy you have to use. Number 2, Darkest Howlkor Ultra. The main Howlkor is at number 2, but honestly the competition wasn't that tough. Darkest Howlkor Ultra only gets its placement because of its core lineup of Magic Shield and Fire Fist, which is great. Luckily it has 5 base damage, meaning it can hit for 11 damage when on the +6 Fire Fist. Number 1, Howlkor Ultra. And by far the best Howlkor Ultra in the game, and also the most broken Bakugan in the game, Howlkor Ultra. Its base form isn't anything special, but its epic character card is what makes this Bakugan amazing. It has the effect of having you draw a card when you attach a Baku gear onto it. In combination with Pharol's effect of reducing the cost for gear cards the turn it opens by 1, you can spam putting free Baku gears onto Howlkor Ultra until you get the right card combination to beat your opponent in 1 turn. If you would like to know more about this combo, check out my video on it in the title card or description below. There's also a 7 cost Hyper Evolution with the stat line of 1510 and the Victor ability of drawing a card for each Baku gear you have in play, but it isn't worth using over the epic character card. Howlkor Ultra is so threatening that it's being asked to be banned and has been banned in some playgroups, giving this Bakugan the number 1 spot on the list. Well, this has been Eenoch Blader with my worst to best video. What do you think? Do you agree or disagree? Let me know in the comment section below, and be sure to let me know your favorite Howlkor Ultra from Bakugan Armored Alliance. And if you liked this video, hit the like button, or don't, I'm not the boss of you, but be sure to subscribe and hit the notification bell so you get updated whenever I upload. Until next time, see ya! Hello my Razor Ranches, it's your boy Eenoch Blader, and in this video I will be ranking each Howlkor X Ramparian from worst to best. I'll be ranking them by their overall competitive viability in the Bakugan Pro game. But enough talk, let's get on with the list. Spoiler alert, this list is gonna be hard for me to do because honestly I feel like all of the forms of Howlkor X Ramparian would perform poorly in a competitive brawl. Number 7, Ventus Chaos Howlkor X Ramparian. Starting off with a Shield and Fist core which isn't that spicy, and a stat line of 403 with a fusion cost of 2. While the cheap fusion cost sounds enticing, unfortunately its stats are at 705, meaning it's gonna reach 1200 B power on the plus 500 fusion only shield core, or 10 damage on the plus 5 fusion only green fist core, which are stats that are very common on Bakugan in base form, so having to spend 2 energy just to reach that isn't worth it. Number 6, Pyrus Darkus Howlkor X Ramparian. an amazing core lineup of double Fire Fist. Unfortunately, that's where all the good things for this Bakugan end. Its stat line of 702 doesn't really make use of its core lineup. Plus, 7 energy to fuse is very expensive, especially since its stats when fused are 1208, which for the cost isn't that good. While the damage can reach 16 on the plus 8 fusion only Fire Fist, Darkest Ryerazu can reach 15 just in base form, so having to spend 7 energy just for 1 more damage in comparison is not worth it at all. Number 5. Darkest Aquos Howlkor X Ramparian. This Bakugan seems to have the most effort put into all of the Howlkor X Ramparians, because as of right now, it is the only one to have an epic character card and an evolution. But first things first, 2 Green Fists is yuck, and a stat line of 505 isn't really that impressive, which is a shame because it's gonna cost 6 energy to fuse, so you better be lucky and try to survive. The best way to help this Bakugan before it can fuse is to use the -200 plus 5 Helix Core to reach 10 damage, or a plus 6 Fire Fist to reach 11 damage, which will allow it to put up a fight via a highest damage wins play. So, for 6 energy to fuse, what do you get? Not much really. The stats bump up to 1406. The 1400 B power doesn't really help it, as Green Fists don't really boost that much B power. And its damage, while reaching 11 when on the plus 5 fusion only Green Fist, isn't worth it for the fusion cost. You can core swap to boost its B power, but honestly, at that point, just use a different Bakugan. And as for its Diamond evolution, like with most Diamond evolutions, the cost isn't worth it. As for the epic character card, it adds the effect of making your opponent discard 2 cards when you flip this card over, which is pretty nice. However, because of what I mentioned prior, I still don't think this added effect makes this Bakugan worth using. Number 4. Darkest Aurelius Howlkor X Ramparian. A nice core lineup of Helix and Green Fist, and a stat line of 506 with a fusion cost of 4, bumping up its stats to 810. To maximize B power, you use the plus 600 -3 Helix Core to reach 1400, which isn't really that good. It's a shame that the fusion Helixes didn't give more substantial boosts. It can reach 15 damage on the plus 5 fusion only Green Fist, but getting to that by having to spend 4 energy to fuse isn't worth it. Number 3. Aquos Ventus Howlkor X Ramparian. A shield and Green Fist core lineup which isn't spicy, and a stat line of 602 with a fusion cost of 5, bumping its stats to 907, with the Victor ability of drawing 2 cards. When on the plus 500 fusion only shield core, this Bakugan reaches 1400 B power, which for 5 energy isn't worth it. And when on the plus 5 fusion only Green Fist, this Bakugan reaches 12 damage, which again, for 5 energy isn't worth it. Number 2. Chaos Pyrus Howlkor X Ramparian. A nice core lineup of Helix and Green Fist, and a stat line of 601 with an inherent Frost Strike, which is nice. It costs 5 energy to fuse, which bumps the stats to 903, and adds onto its effect by giving 2 Frost Strike and Double Strike. Unfortunately, the best way to maximize B power is the 600 -3 Helix Core, which would make this Bakugan have 0 damage and not be able to make use of its Double Strike. The next best thing would to be use the plus 2 damage and 500 B power if fused Helix Core, which would balance its stats to 1405, but for 5 energy isn't worth it. Number 1. Aquos Aurelius Howlkor X Ramparian. An amazing core lineup of double Helix Core and a stat line of 105. However, you don't have to worry about it for too long, because for only 3 energy, this Bakugan can fuse, which bumps the stats up to 906, which would be pretty good if Helix Cores for Fusion Bakugan were better. Unfortunately, the best B power boosting Helix Core is still the normal 600 -3 Helix Core, which would make this Bakugan's B power 1500, which, while over 1450, isn't worth it because of the energy used just to get it to fuse, which is a shame because this Bakugan had the best standing out of all of these Howlkor X Ramparians. It's quite ironic that this Bakugan is the first Bakugan to have more than 6 forms, but they all aren't really worth using in a competitive brawl. But anyways, this has been Zeonic Blader with my worst to best video. What do you think? Do you agree or disagree? Let me know in the comment section below, and be sure to let me know your favorite Howlkor X Ramparian from Bakugan Armored Alliance. And if you like this video, hit the like button, or don't. I'm not the boss of you, but be sure to subscribe and hit the notification bell so you get updated whenever I upload. Until next time, see ya! Hello my fused french fries, it's your boy Zeonic Blader, and I know I am in the middle of ranking Geogon Rising Bakugan. However, I forgot about this Bakugan, which I already wrote a script for but never got to. In this video, I will be ranking Howlkor X Serpenteze Core released in Bakugan Armored Alliance from worst to best. There's only one of it, so let's get on with the list. Number 1. Darkus Aurelius Howlkor X Serpenteze. This is a mold exclusive to the Battle League Coliseum, which is one of the more expensive Bakugan items available. So is this Bakugan worth the price tag? Well, let's talk about it. It has a Poor Core lineup of 2 shield cores and a stat line of 400 B power and 4 damage, with a fusion cost of 3, which bumps the stats up to 700 B power and 5 damage. Meaning, when on the plus 500 B power fusion only shield core, this Bakugan is at 1200 B power, which is laughably bad in a world of 1450 base form Bakugan in the Armored Alliance format. However, Howlkor X Serpenteze also has an epic character card that adds an effect to the fused part of the Bakugan. For each Baku gear attached to Howlkor X Serpenteze, it gains an additional 300 B power. It does take a bit of effort, but if you're willing to put in the work, you can reach some high numbers. Since this Bakugan is part Aurelius, you can use the 1-cost Baku gear card Pharol Strike, which also gives an additional 200 B power, giving us a total of 1700 B power, which is much better. There are a bit more liabilities for this Bakugan, but if you want to use this Bakugan, you definitely need the epic character card. Oh, and also be willing to shell out for a whole stadium just to get this Bakugan in the first place. Though, I mean, it's been like, what, 3 years now? So I have no idea how you're gonna get it, but I'm sure it's somewhere in the warehouse or something. But anyways, this has been Zeonic Blader with my worst to best on Howlkor X Serpenteze Core. What do you think? Do you agree? Disagree? Let me know in the comment section below, and let me know what you think about this Bakugan. And if you liked the video, hit the like button, or don't. I'm not the boss of you. But be sure to subscribe and hit the notification bell so you get updated whenever I upload. Until next time, see ya. Hello my slicing sombreros, it's your boy Zeonic Blader, and in this video I will be ranking each Howlkor X Serpenteze Ultra from worst to best. I'll be ranking them by their overall competitive viability in the Bakugan Pro game. But enough talk, let's get on with the list. Number 4. Darkus Aurelius Howlkor Serpenteze Ultra. A Poor Core lineup of 2 shields and a stat line of 702 with a fusion cost of 5 that bumps the stats up to 1104. The base form is pretty weak, so it being a 5 cost is kind of annoying. Once fused and on the plus 500 fusion only shield core, it reaches 1600 B power, which for 5 energy isn't worth it at all since base form Bakugan are around that same B power. Number 3. Hydorous Aurelius Howlkor X Serpenteze Ultra. A nice core lineup of Green Fist and Helix, and a stat line of 304 with a fusion cost of 3 that bumps the stats up to 607. This Bakugan is solid for damage once fused, allowing it to reach 12 damage when on the plus 5 fusion only Green Fist. The thing is, there are many base form Bakugan that can reach the same damage number and even higher without needing to spend energy. Number 2. Pyrus Aurelis Howlkor X Serpenteze Ultra, a poor core lineup of 2 shield cores and a stat line of 702 with the fusion cost of 4 that bumps the stats up to 1205. On the plus 500 fusion only shield core, this Bakugan reaches 1700 B power, which isn't the worst, but when you have a Bakugan like Dragonoid X Tretorous reaching higher numbers for less energy to fuse, this Bakugan isn't worth it in comparison. Number 1. Aquos Aurelis Howlkor X Serpenteze Ultra, a nice core lineup of Shield and Fire Fist with a stat line of 305 and the effect of Frost Strike. This is the only Howlkor X Serpenteze Ultra that can hold its own in base form, as the 5 damage can turn into 11 on the plus 6 Fire Fist. However, with it only costing 3 to fuse, you may not even need to use the base form. The fusion doesn't really bump the damage, but it does increase the Frost Strike to 3. This Bakugan is great because it can be used with Darkfire defense. Equip that gear and do over 100 damage with 3 Frost Strike, which is absolutely deadly. Well, at least in this list, we have a Bakugan that has a proper spot in a team. I was starting to get worried for a second. But anyways, this has been Eenoch Blader with my worst to best video. What do you think? Do you agree or disagree? Let me know in the comment section below, and be sure to let me know your favorite Howlkor X Serpenteze Ultra from Bakugan Armored Alliance. And if you like this video, hit the like button. Or don't, I'm not the boss of you, but be sure to subscribe and hit the notification bell so you get updated whenever I upload. Until next time, see ya! Hello my double Dunkachinos, it's your boy Eenoch Blader and welcome to another episode of Worst to Best. In this episode we will be ranking each Nillious Core released in Bakugan Armored Alliance from worst to best. We will be basing the evaluations of this list by the Bakugan's base stats and effects, their evolutions, and their use in decks. But enough talk, let's get on with the list. Number 6. Ventus Nillious Core. Living in the shadow of its incredibly powerful Ultra variant, Ventus Nillious Core doesn't even make an attempt to be good. Its core lineup of Shield and Greed Fist is terrible, and its stat line of 405 would have been considered mediocre 2 years ago. It has an epic character card, but it just adds a reroll effect which doesn't make this Bakugan worth using. The only way for this Bakugan to possibly see a chance at winning a brawl is taking a Fire Fist from another Bakugan to reach 11 damage for a damage wins play. However, with it offering nothing in the trade while giving generic results, this Bakugan is the worst Nillious Core out there. Number 5. Aurelis Nillious Core. This is pretty much a slightly better version of Ventus Nillious Core, at least in terms of stats. Its faction sucks and it has no epic character card. However, there's less expectations on this Bakugan to be good, giving it its spot on the list. Number 4. Aquos Nillious. This Bakugan actually has a great core lineup of Helix and Fire Fist, but unfortunately its stats aren't high enough at 601. Aquos Nillious does have an epic character card which adds the Victor ability of gaining the sync effect of revealing a card in your hand that costs 5 or more energy to gain 5 damage when you win the brawl. Because of its poor base stats, you will be lucky to gain the effect anyways. Aquos Nillious Core has a 5-cost Titan evolution with the stat line of 1305 and the same Victor ability, but instead gaining 10 damage. These stats are much better, however as an Aquos Bakugan it must fight for a spot against the likes of Aquos Hydorous, which is a losing battle. Then there is the 5-cost Maximus evolution, which is pretty much the exact same as the Titan evolution, but with a small issue. It has less B power. Are you kidding me? What were they thinking? Number 3. Pyrus Nillious. This Bakugan has a core lineup of 2 Fire Fist, which is great, and a stat line of 601, which isn't anything special. What is special is its evolution, the 4-cost Titan Nillious, with the stat line of 1205 and the effect of allowing you to empower the next card you play for free when this Bakugan opens, which is great for an Empower deck. Though Empower decks aren't really the best, but they are still fun to play around with when facing decks around the same power level. Number 2. Chaos Nillious. It has a core lineup of Fire Fist and Fists, which is nice, and the stat line of 601 with the effect of gaining 5 damage on a Fire Fist. If you land on the +6 Fire Fist, this Bakugan reaches a nice 12 damage, which is great for damage wins plays. However, what is interesting is with its Hyper Evolution. It's a 3-cost with a stat line of 901 and the effect of gaining 7 damage when on a Fire Fist. And then, when it opens, you can attach a Baku Core from the field onto this. This is actually really good, and compared to Titan Nillious from year 1, it has its positives and negatives when picking one over the other. However, because this is a blind box exclusive, because it only comes at 1 per blind box, to get a playset of it would cost a pretty penny. So instead of wasting possibly hundreds of dollars, just use the Battle Planet version instead of this. Number 1. Darkus Nillious. The main Nillious itself is also the best one. It has a core lineup of Shield and Fire Fist, which is nice, and the stat line of 405, meaning you're gonna want to go for highest damage wins plays with Fire Fist. However, the real reason why this Bakugan is number 1 is because of its evolution, the 8-cost Maximus Nillious with the stat line of 1407. While normally these stats wouldn't be worth it for the cost, Maximus Nillious is special as it has the Rapid Fire tag, allowing it to be played for free if it's the second Rapid Fire card you played that turn, which is amazing. Unfortunately, it does go back to the hand at the end of the turn, which is something that holds not only this Bakugan, but also the Rapid Fire build back when compared to the likes of Sync. However, this Bakugan is still solid and takes the number 1 spot on this list as the best Nillious Core released in Bakugan Armored Alliance. Well, this has been Eenoch Blader with my worst to best video. What do you think? Do you agree or disagree? Let me know in the comment section below, and also be sure to let me know your favorite Nillious Core from Bakugan Armored Alliance. If you like this video, hit the like button, or don't, I'm not the boss of you, but be sure to subscribe and hit the notification bell so you get updated whenever I upload. Until next time, see ya! Hello my triple trinkets, it's your boy Eenoch Blader, and in this episode I will be ranking each Nillious Ultra from worst to best. We will be basing this list off the Bakugan's base stats and effects, their evolutions, and their use in decks. But enough talk, let's get on with the list. Number 6. Darkus Nillious Ultra. These first two are very close, however it's a shame that the darkest one is at the bottom of the list since it's one of the main Bakugan on the show. It has a core lineup of Shield and Fist, which isn't good, and the stat line of 603, which is mediocre. It does have an effect where it gains 200 B power on a Shield Core, making its B power a total of 1200 when on the plus 400 Shield Core. And it also gains 2 damage when on a Green Fist, making its damage a total of 8 when on the plus 3 Green Fist. This Bachyon is very disappointing, as if it had an effect that boosted its stats to the minimum 1450 B power or 10 damage we like to see using the Shield or Green Fist cores, not only would that make the Bachyon more competitively viable, but also give Shield cores and Green Fist a better reputation other than being used as gear reduction cores. Darkest Nillious Ultra has a 7-cost Diamond evolution with the stat line of 1210 and the same effect, but gaining 400 B power on a Shield Core and 4 damage on a Green Fist, which is a bit too expensive and barely worth using in a Divine Intervention combo. Number 5. Pyrus Nillious Ultra. Now, Pyrus Nillious Ultra isn't much better than Darkest Nillious Ultra in base form, but it does have a better core lineup of Fire Fist and Helix. Unfortunately, even with the Fire Fist, it's under the 10 damage minimum we like to see. Pyrus Nillious Ultra does have an epic character card that has the effect of when it opens, the next card costs 1 energy less to empower, which can be good, but I believe the reduction is too low to be worth the poor base stats. And honestly, the core Pyrus Nillious is much better for Empower, with its Titan evolution allowing you to empower for free. When I think about it, it seems like this epic character card was supposed to be for Pyrus Nillious Core, but there was some kind of mix-up, as when we look at the 3-cost Hyper Evolution, Pyrus Nillious Ultra loses its Empower reduction effect and instead gains an Empower effect of paying an additional 3 energy for 4 extra damage, which really isn't worth it. Just stick to the core version of Pyrus Nillious. Number 4. Aurelius Nillious Ultra. Its base stats are mediocre at 601, but it does come with a magic shield, so that's nice. Aurelius Nillious Ultra has an epic character card that lets it gain 5 damage if it has a Baku gear attached to it, which would be great if it had a higher damage rating. Aurelius Nillious Ultra has a 3-cost Hyper Evolution with the stat line of 804 and the effect of gaining 700 B power and 7 damage if you have a Baku gear attached to it, which is actually pretty good. Excluding the Baku gear boost, on the plus 650 magic shield, this Bachyon reaches 2150 B power and 11 damage. I feel if it were a different faction and perhaps had a cheaper evolution, it would be higher on the list. However, with its weak Aurelius card pool and the meta being centered around strong base form Bachyon, it keeps it from being any higher on the list. Number 3. Chaos Nillious Ultra. Now, these next two Bachyon can pretty much do the same thing, but the Chaos one is just worst at it. Chaos Nillious Ultra has 2 shield cores and the stat line of 403, but that isn't really important. What is important is the effect of gaining 3 Frost Strike when on a shield core. Now, if you don't remember what Frost Strike does, first of all, I don't blame you, but what it does is that it increases the cost to block an attack. So if your opponent wants to play a Stop All card, usually it would cost 3 memory to stop it, but with the plus 3 Frost Strike, it would cost 6 instead. Same goes for Pact of Darkness. The opponent would have to discard an additional 3 cards to stop the attack, which is deadly. Now, normally, with these stats, this effect is worthless. However, with the creation of Dark Fire Defense, this combination became super deadly. Now, there's a 3-cost Hyper Evolution with the stat line of 1003 and the effect of gaining 3 damage and 3 Frost Strike on a shield core, but it's better to save that energy for Dark Fire Defense and a Might of Syndius or Mac. Number 2. Aquos Nillious Ultra. Aquos Nillious Ultra does what Chaos Nillious Ultra can, but better. It has a Magic Shield core, which is already great, and the stat line of 503. The big difference is the effect. It gains 2 Frost Strike, which is less than Chaos Nillious Ultra. However, instead of needing to be dependent on a core, it just needs a gear attached to it. And because the combo already calls for a gear to be attached to it, not needing to worry about a specific core makes this a much better option. And that's before we take into consideration the amazing card pool Aquos has. Aqua's Nillious Ultra has a 4-cost Hyper Evolution, which gives it better stats and buffs up the Frost Strike boost. However, with all the energy you need for the Gear and the Might of Cyndaeus, it's better just to leave the evolution. Number 1. Ventus Nillious Ultra. Ventus Nillious Ultra is one of the best base form Bakugan in Armored Alliance. It has the stat line of 801, letting it reach 1450 on its own magic shield. Plus, the Nillious Ultra model has a high chance of picking up multiple cores, and you don't even have to roll it in a fancy way. Because of the magnet placement, it is very easy to grab more than one core with Ventus Nillious Ultra, which can make it even stronger. And while all Nillious Ultras can do it, because the Ventus version already has the 1450 B power we like to see, even if it didn't double core, it would be great, but because it can, it's amazing. Well, this has been Zeonic Blader with my worst to best video. What do you think? Do you agree or disagree? Let me know in the comment section below, and be sure to let me know your favorite Nillious Ultra from Bakugan Armored Alliance. And if you like this video, hit the like button, or don't, I'm not the boss of you, but be sure to subscribe and hit the notification bell so you get updated whenever I upload. Until next time, see ya. Hello my brooding broccolis, it's your boy Zeonic Blader, and in this video I will be ranking each Nillious x Eenoch from worst to best. I'll be ranking them by their overall competitive viability in the Bakugan Pro game. But enough talk, let's get on with the list. Number 3, Darkus Eenoch x Nillious. A nice core lineup of Shield and Fire Fist with a stat line of 502 and a fusion cost of 4, which bumps the stats up to 907. On the plus 500 fusion only Shield Core, this Bakugan reaches 1400 B power, which isn't that good because of the energy cost, and when on the plus 8 fusion only Fire Fist, this Bakugan reaches 15 damage, which is the way to go for this Bakugan. However, with Darkus Ryerazu hitting the same damage in base form, it does hurt Darkus Eenoch x Nillious. It does have a 5-cost Diamond Evolution, but like with all Diamond Fusion evolutions, it's not worth the amount of resources to use. Number 2, Chaos Eenoch x Nillious. A poor core lineup of 2 shield cores and a stat line of 202 with an effect of gaining 4 damage on a shield core, which is ironic because shield cores barely give any damage boosts. This Bakugan needs only 2 energy to fuse, bumping its stats up to 402 and buffing the effect to give 500 B power and 5 damage when on a shield core. Unfortunately, even with those boosts, this Bakugan's B power is at 1400, which is less than many of the top tier Bakugan in base form. Number 1, Ventus Eenoch x Nillious. An amazing core lineup of Fire Fist and Helix, and a stat line of 305 with a fusion cost of only 3, which bumps the stats up to 807. When on the plus 8 fusion only Fire Fist, this Bakugan reaches 15 damage, which is pretty spicy. However, despite that, it's still the same as Darkus Ryerazu. I can only see this being used as a replacement if you want the damage Bakugan of your team to be a Ventus. Overall, this list of Bakugan aren't that bad, but they aren't good either. But anyways, this has been Zeonic Blader with my worst to best video. What do you think? Do you agree or disagree? Let me know in the comment section below, and be sure to let me know your favorite Nillious x Eenoch from Bakugan Armored Alliance. And if you like this video, hit the like button, or don't, I'm not the boss of you, but be sure to subscribe and hit the notification bell so you get updated whenever I upload. Until next time, see ya! Hello my galloping granolas, it's your boy Zeonic Blader, and welcome to another episode of Worst to Best. In this episode we will be ranking each Pegatrix Core released in Bakugan Armored Alliance from worst to best. We will be basing this list off the Bakugan's base stats and effects, their evolutions, and their use in decks. But enough talk, let's get on with the list. Number 6. Aquos Pegatrix. Most of the Pegatrix cores this year have been pretty bad, so the battle for worst is pretty close. But I'm gonna have to go with Aquos Pegatrix. It has a horrible core lineup of double Green Fist with no stats to back it up. Plus, with it being an Aquos Bakugan that's this bad, there's absolutely no reason to use it in a world where Aquos Hydorous exists. Number 5. Darkus Pegatrix. With a poor core lineup and bad base stats, it's a wonder why it was one of the few Pegatrixes to not only have an evolution, but also an epic character card. Both epic character card and evolution have a similar effect of making both players discard cards when a Bakugear is attached to the Bakugan, but it's not really worth using due to the low stats. Number 4. Ventus Pegatrix. This Bakugan is something from the mediocrity table of year 1. Double Green Fist with a stat line of 602, which is nothing special, especially in a world where Bakugan can hit over 1450 in base form with their own cores. Ventus Pegatrix Core has an epic character card that has the effect of making both players energize the top card of their deck uncharged, which is cool. But with how underpowered this Bakugan is, it really benefits your opponent more. Ventus Pegatrix Core also has an 8-cost Maximus evolution with the stat line of 1510, which for the cost isn't worth the stats you get. Number 3. Aurelius Pegatrix. While this is a solid Bakugan with a core lineup of Magic Shield and Helix, it unfortunately misses the mark with its stat line of 702. Number 2. Pyrus Pegatrix Core. The Magic Shield and Fire Fist core lineup is one of the best core lineups to have. Unfortunately, its stats aren't that good at 401. It does have an innate double strike, but it won't help unless you miraculously win the brawl. There is also the blind box exclusive 5-cost Titan evolution with the stat line of 1202, the double strike ability, and the victor ability of copying the effect of the next action card you play that turn, which while isn't that good, the rest of the Pegatrixes we have looked at prior aren't any better either. Number 1. Chaos Pegatrix. This Bakugan also has a great Magic Shield Fire Fist core lineup, and also has that 5 base damage, which can go up to 11 after landing on the +6 Fire Fist, which is great for damage when it's plays. Throughout the year, Chaos Pegatrix Core had mediocre evolutions. However, with the limited release of the blind boxes, we were given a new evolution, the 5-cost Titan Pegatrix. Now, its stats for a 5-cost aren't really that good. However, Titan Pegatrix has the trifecta effect of being able to be played for free if your Bakugan have 3 or more cores attached to them collectively, meaning turn 3 you just use this Bakugan as a team attacker and bam, 1650 on a Magic Shield. Now if this seems familiar to you, that's because Ventus Maximus Dragonoid Core has the exact same effect, just that its stats are better. So while this is just a weaker version of Maximus Dragonoid but in a different faction, it's still pretty good, making it the number 1 Pegatrix Core to be released in Bakugan Armored Alliance. Well, this has been Eenoch Blader with my worst to best video on Pegatrix Core. What do you think? Do you agree or disagree? Let me know in the comment section below, and be sure to let me know your favorite Pegatrix Core from Bakugan Armored Alliance. And if you liked the video, hit the like button, or don't, I'm not the boss of you, but be sure to subscribe and hit the notification bell so you get updated whenever I upload. Until next time, see ya. Hello my galloping grapes, it's your boy Eenoch Ultra, and in this episode I will be ranking each Pegatrix Ultra released in Bakugan Armored Alliance from worst to best. We will be basing this list off the Bakugan's base stats and effects, their evolutions, and their use in decks. But enough talk, let's get on with the list. Number 6. Darkest Pegatrix Ultra. Honestly, every single Pegatrix Ultra, aside from the first one on the list, isn't that good, and the darkest one is the worst of the bunch. It has that bad core lineup of Shield and Green Fist, and the stat line of 703, meaning if we wanted to take another Bakugan's core to actually reach the max number it can be, it would still be under the 1450 B power or 10 damage we want to see. Number 5. Ventus Pegatrix Ultra. Once again, poor base stats, however, this time it actually has evolutions. The 3-cost Hyper Evolution has a stat line of 1105, and the Trifecta effect of gaining 5 damage and Shadow Strike if your Bakugan have 3 or more cores attached to them collectively. Use this turn 3 and you're solid. However, 16 damage, assuming you're using another Bakugan's Fire Fist, is around the same other Bakugan hit in their base form, so this isn't really worth the 3 costs to evolve. Number 4. Pyrus Pegatrix Ultra. While the core lineup isn't great, Pyrus Pegatrix Ultra does have 800 B power, meaning if you were to take another Bakugan's Magic Shield, you're reaching 1450 B power. The thing is, Pyrus already has a few Pyrus Bakugan that would be better alternatives to core sharing that give a better boost, like Dragonoid Ultra from Armored Alliance, Ultima Dragonoid, and the new Dragonoid Ultra from Geogon Rising. The 3-cost Hyper Evolution bumps the stats up to 906, which isn't anything good, but it is a rapid fire card, so it can be played for free if it's the second rapid fire card played that turn. However, even then, it's not worth it. Number 3. Aurelus Pegatrix Ultra. Like the last two Bakugan, Aurelus Pegatrix Ultra has that 800 B power we like to see, but a core lineup we don't like to see. It does, however, have a bit more damage, so it's at number 3. Number 2. Aquos Pegatrix Ultra. This is like an underwhelming version of Aquos Hydorous Core. The Helix Core is nice, and the 701 with an effect is promising. Unfortunately, the effect reduces the B power and boosts the damage. What a shame. Yeah, you can use the -200 plus 5 Helix Core to get Aquos Pegatrix Core into 11 damage, which is solid. However, if that -300 was a +300 instead, we would have gotten the strongest Bakugan in Armored Alliance, but unfortunately, we are here. Number 1. Chaos Pegatrix Ultra. The hyped up pony of the Armored Alliance format. Chaos Pegatrix Ultra isn't really anything special in base form, and its epic character card that adds a Victor ability to it isn't anything amazing either. However, where it gets good is with its 6-cost Maximus Evolution. It has the stat line of 1107, which is fine, but not why this Bakugan is so great. It's because of its effect. When Maximus Pegatrix Ultra opens, you attach all Bakukors your opponent's Bakugan has, which is super good, because not only do you boost Pegatrix to massive amounts of stats, but you also shut down your opponent's Bakugan, especially since most Bakugan rely on a specific core to win the match. Maximus Pegatrix Ultra was dubbed Mega Pega because of its strength. Unfortunately, the game became too heavy on Bakugan that were really strong in base form, kind of making evolutions less desirable to play, especially if the base forms weren't that good. Even then, the Chaos version of the Sync deck uses Mega Pega, and perhaps Geogon Rising will make it easier to play with. Oh yeah, there's a Diamond evolution, but it sucks. Well, this has been Eenoch Ultra with my worst to best video on Pegatrix Ultra. What do you think? Do you agree or disagree? Let me know in the comment section below, and be sure to let me know your favorite Pegatrix Ultra from Bakugan Armored Alliance. And if you liked the video, hit the like button. or don't, I'm not the boss of you, but be sure to subscribe and hit the notification bell so you get updated whenever I upload. Until next time, see ya! Hello my aggressive alligators, it's your boy Eenoch Ultra, and in this video, I will be ranking each Pegatrix X Gillator from worst to best. I will be ranking them by their overall competitive viability in the Bakugan Pro game. But enough talk, let's get on with the list. Number 5, Aquos Ventus Pegatrix X Gillator. 2 shield cores, which is mediocre, and a stat line of 207. It's a shame high damage is wasted on a Bakugan that has 2 cores that barely give any damage gains. It costs 8 energy to fuse, which is pretty hefty, and bumps the stats up to 1000 B power and 20 damage. On the plus 500 fusion only shield core, it reaches 1500 B power, but for 8 energy it isn't worth it. Its damage is at 20, but because it costs so much to fuse, that again isn't worth the high damage. It's better using that 8 energy on action cards to boost your Bakugan's damage, especially since we have Bakugan like Darkest Ryerazu that reach 15 damage in just its base form. Number 4, Hydorous Ultra Pegatrix X Gillator. It has a shield and green fist core lineup, which isn't anything special, and the stat line of 402. What's interesting is that when on the shield or green fist core, it can evolve for free, which bumps up its stats to 803. It's obvious you want to focus on the B power, but unfortunately it only reaches 1300 B power when on the plus 500 fusion only shield core, which is under the 1450 B power we want to see. Number 3, Hydorous Pyrus Pegatrix X Gillator. A nice core lineup of Magic Shield and Green Fist and a stat line of 404, but you don't have to worry about that because for only 1 energy, you can fuse this Bakugan, which bumps the stats to 606. However, even when on the plus 800 fusion only Magic Shield, it's at 1400 B power, just shy by 50 B power, which is what many meta Bakugan hit just in base form, which is a shame. Number 2, Hydorous Ultra Pegatrix X Gillator. A nice core lineup of Magic Shield and Shield, and a stat line of 204, which isn't anything special. You can core swap for a Fire Fist though to reach that 10 damage we need for a damage wins play at least. It costs 4 energy to fuse, which bumps up the stats to 1005 with an innate double strike. It's pretty solid, however I always have to compare it to Pyrus Darkest Dragonoid X Tretorous, which reaches the same 1800 B power that Pegatrix X Gillator would on the plus 800 Magic Shield, but for 1 less energy. However, in return, Dragonoid X Tretorous doesn't have that double strike. Number 1, Darkest Aquos Pegatrix X Gillator. An amazing core lineup of Magic Shield and Fire Fist with a stat line of 603 and a fusion cost of 5, which bumps the stats up to 1105 with 2 Frost Strike. On the plus 800 fusion only Magic Shield, you're looking at 1900 B power, which isn't bad. I wouldn't have mind this being cheaper for less Frost Strike. Overall, there are some okay Bakugan in this lineup, but they missed that sweet spot that lets it hang with the best non-fusion Bakugan, which unfortunately is the case with many fusion Bakugan in general. But anyways, this has been Eenoch Ultra with my worst to best video. What do you think? Do you agree or disagree? Let me know in the comment section below, and be sure to let me know your favorite Pegatrix X Gillator from Bakugan Armored Alliance. And if you liked this video, hit the like button or don't. I'm not the boss of you, but be sure to subscribe and hit the notification bell so you get updated whenever I upload. Until next time, see ya. Hello my pinchy ponchos, it's your boy Zeonic Blader, and in this video I will be ranking each Pegatrix X Goreene Ultra from worst to best. I'll be ranking them by their overall competitive viability in the Bakugan Pro game. But enough talk, let's get on with the list. Number 5. Ventus Aurelis Pegatrix X Goreene Ultra. A nice core lineup of Shield and Fire Fist with a stat line of 701 and fusion cost of 8. Unfortunately, its base stats are pretty low, so it will have a hard time competing against the strong base form Bakugan that are usually used in competitive decks. Once fused, the stats bump up to 1313, allowing it to reach 1800 B power on the fusion only plus 500 shield core, and 21 damage on the fusion only plus 8 fire fist. While the damage is nice, it isn't worth having to pay 8 energy to get to. Number 4. Darkus Aurelis Pegatrix X Goreene Ultra. A poor core lineup of 2 shields and a stat line of 501 with an effect of gaining 5 damage on a shield core, which is ironic because shield cores barely give any damage, and even with this effect, this Bakugan only reaches 7 damage in base form, which is too low for a damage wins play. It fuses for 6 energy, which bumps the stats up to 1202, while also bumping the effect boost up to 10 damage when on a shield core, which is still not really worth it for this 6 energy to fuse, especially since this Bakugan unfused is pretty weak, even for year 1 shield core deck standards. Number 3. Pyrus Aurelis Pegatrix X Goreene Ultra. A great core lineup of double helix and a stat line of 602. It costs only 2 to fuse, but unfortunately its stats are only boosted to 703, which is too low to deal with a lot of competitive Bakugan in base form. Number 2. Chaos Aurelis Pegatrix X Goreene Ultra. A nice core lineup of Fire Fist and Green Fist with a stat line of 703 and a fusion cost of 4, which when fused bumps this Bakugan stats up to 905. This Bakugan would focus on damage, reaching 13 damage on the plus 8 Fire Fist, which isn't good, because Bakugan like Darkus Ryerazu can beat that just in base form. There is also a 6 cost Diamond Evolution with the stat line of 1210 and the effect of gaining 700 B power, which honestly, this should have been the normal fusion stats, which still probably wouldn't have made it at a competitive level, but would allow it to be much better. Unfortunately, the best Bakugan in the game are really aggressive, so there really isn't any need to use Diamond Evolutions for fusion Bakugan because it would take too many resources. Number 1. Aquos Aurelis Pegatrix X Goreene Ultra. A great core lineup of Fire Fist and Helix, and a stat line of 403 with a fusion cost of 6. This Bakugan isn't really going to be able to do much in its unfused state because its base stats are too low. Once evolved, however, it does bump up its stats to 1508, which allows it to reach 2100 B power on the plus 600 minus 3 Helix Core and 16 damage on the plus 8 fusion only Fire Fist, which while isn't that good because of its cost of 6 to evolve, isn't that bad when looking at the rest of the Bakugan on the list. It's pretty unfortunate that once again we have an entire list of Bakugan that I wouldn't recommend using in a brawl. But anyways, this has been Zeonic Blader with my worst to best video. What do you think? Do you agree or disagree? Let me know in the comment section below, and be sure to let me know your favorite Pegatrix X Goreene Ultra from Bakugan Armored Alliance. And if you like this video, hit the like button, or don't. I'm not the boss of you. But be sure to subscribe and hit the notification bell so you get updated whenever I upload. Until next time, see ya. Hello my ancient Egyptian urgencies, it's ya boy Zeonic Blader, and in this worst to best video, we will be ranking each Pharol core from worst to best. We will be basing this list off the Bakugan's base stats, effects, their evolutions, and their use in decks. But enough talk, let's get on with the list. Number 5. Pyrus Pharol. This Bakugan isn't anything special. Its core lineup of Shield and Green Fist isn't good as they don't give a boost substantial enough to make this Bakugan's base stats of 505 competitively viable. You could core swap for a +6 Fire Fist to hit 11 damage, however, with this Bakugan not really giving much in return, and with Pyrus having so many other options, even with the epic character card that allows you to reroll if you miss, it's still not worth using. Number 4, Aurelius Pharol. This Bakugan has the same base stats as its Pyrus counterpart, but with 2 shield cores, which when this came out, wasn't good. Aurelius Pharol does have 2 evolutions though, making it much better than its Pyrus counterpart. The Diamond evolution is a Diamond Vanilla that isn't anything special for the stats you get because of the 8 energy to evolve, but the Titan evolution is okay. The 6 cost Titan evolution has a stat line of 1307, which isn't bad, and has a Victor ability allowing you to search for a dual faction card, which is a solid effect only hampered by it being a Victor ability. While the stats this Bakugan has are high enough where I can see it winning a brawl, its cost is really pushing it, making it 4th on my list. Number 3, Darkus Pharol. The 605 base stat line and the inclusion of a Helix Core makes Darkus Pharol much better than the last 2 Bakugan we looked at, allowing it to hit 10 damage when on the -200 +5 Helix Core. Darkus Pharol has a 5 cost Titan evolution with the stat line of 1205 and the sync effect of allowing you to reveal an evolution from your hand to gain damage equal to the evolution's cost. This effect is pretty situational, especially since evolutions in sync decks tend to be less used compared to other decks, instead relying on strong base stats and gaining free buffs from cards like Howling Shell Bomb. Number 2, Ventus Pharol. It seems the 505 stat line is pretty popular with the designers. Fortunately, with a Helix Core in the lineup, we are already seeing an improvement over the Pyrus and Aurelius Pharols, allowing it to reach 10 damage on the +5 -200 Helix Core. This Bakugan has an epic character card with the boost ability allowing it to gain 5 damage if you have 7 or more energy cards in play. Ventus Pharol has a 4 cost hyper evolution with the stat line of 1105 and a boost effect that gives you not only 5 damage but also Shadow Strike when it's in effect. This Bakugan needs a bit of love to make it work in a deck. However, if you were a fan of Ventus Dragonoid Ultra in Bakugan Battle Planet, this makes a solid Armored Alliance replacement due to their similar playstyles, at least when it comes to their evolutions. Number 1, Chaos Pharol. Chaos Pharol is not number 1 because of its magic shield, but because of its epic character card, allowing you to reduce the cost of Bakugears by 1 energy for the turn when it opens, which allows this card to be a part of a 1-turn kill combo with Howlkor Ultra's effect of being able to draw a card when you attach a Bakugear onto it. With 1 cost Bakugears turning into 0, you can spam this effect and draw a card until you are able to get the right combination to take down your opponent. If you would like to learn more about this combo, check out my competitive review on Howlkor Ultra, link in the title card as well as the description below. Well, this has been Zeonic Blader with my worst to best video on the Pharol lineup. What do you think? Do you agree or disagree? Let me know in the comment section below, and be sure to let me know your favorite Pharol core from Bakugan Armored Alliance. And if you like this video, hit the like button, or don't, I'm not the boss of you, but be sure to subscribe and hit the notification bell so you get updated whenever I upload. Until next time, see ya! Hello my floral Fahrenheits, it's your boy Eenoch Blader, and in this video I'll be ranking each Pharol x Gillator Ultra from worst to best. I'll be ranking them by their overall competitive viability in the Bakugan Pro game. But enough talk, let's get on with the list. Number 4. Aquos Aurelis Pharol x Gillator Ultra, a poor core lineup of Shield and Green Fist with a stat line of 605. The 5 base damage is nice, but you would have to core swap to reach 10 damage, which is the minimum we like to see for damage wins plays. And you best have a plan for that because it costs 7 energy for this Bakugan to fuse, and when it does fuse, its stats are pumped up to 1209 with 3 Frost Strike. These stats are pretty balanced, with it reaching 1700 B power on the plus 500 fusion only Shield Core and 14 damage on the plus 5 fusion only Green Fist, though for 7 energy to reach B power and damage that's around the same power level as the top base form Bakugan, it's really not worth it. Number 3. Hydorous Aurelis Pharol x Gillator Ultra, a nice core lineup of Shield and Magic Shield with a stat line of 207. It makes me wish it had a Green Fist, then it could reach the 10 damage minimum for a damage wins play while in base form. You would have to core swap until you can fuse, and at 6 energy to fuse, while not as high as the last Bakugan on the list, it is still pretty high. Its stats get bumped up to 1012, so it's pretty balanced, but with its core lineup it's going to need to focus on B power, with it reaching 1800 B power when on the plus 800 fusion only Magic Shield. The thing is, that's the same B power that Pyrus Darkus Dragonoid X Tretorous can reach, and that costs half as much to fuse. Number 2. Hydorous Aurelis Pharol x Gillator Ultra, a nice core lineup of Fire Fist and Green Fist with a stat line of 402, and honestly, the reason why this Bakugan is at number 2 is because its fusion cost is so much cheaper than the rest of the Bakugan on the list at only 2 to fuse. That being said, its stats only go up to 603, so when on the plus 8 fusion only Fire Fist, it's at 11 damage, which is within the range many damage inclined base form Bakugan can hit, so having to spend 2 energy really hurts this Bakugan. And number 1, Ventus Aurelis Pharol x Gillator Ultra, a nice core lineup of Magic Shield and Green Fist with a stat line of 404, so once again, you would have to core swap to survive in base form. Luckily, compared to the others we have seen in this list, its fusion cost is relatively cheap at 5 energy to fuse, and once fused, its stats are bumped up to 1108. Once again, pretty balanced stats, with it reaching 1900 B power on the plus 800 fusion only Magic Shield and 13 damage on the plus 5 Green Fist Core. These are okay stats, but at 5 energy, you have to think, what if I used a Bakugan with 1450 B power and used 5 energy to bump up its stats? Heck, these days, Bakugan are at 1600 B power in base form, so 5 energy to fuse is pretty rough. Once again, we are seeing the pattern of these fusion Bakugan not being as good because it costs so much energy to have them be decent, while there are strong base form Bakugan that can overshadow them. But anyways, this has been Eenoch Blader with my worst to best video. What do you think? Do you agree or disagree? Let me know in the comment section below, and be sure to let me know your favorite Pharol x Gillator Ultra from Bakugan Armored Alliance. And if you like this video, hit the like button. Or don't, I'm not the boss for you, but be sure to subscribe and hit the notification bell so you get updated whenever I upload. Until next time, see ya. Hello my Jurassic Jumpers, it's your boy Eenoch Blader, and today I will be ranking each Trox Core released in Bakugan Armored Alliance from worst to best. We will be basing this list off the Bakugan's base stats and effects, their evolutions, and their use in decks. But enough talk, let's get on with the list. Number 6, Aurelis Trox. This Bakugan is the prime example of how Aurelis has fallen in Bakugan Armored Alliance. The Battle Planet version of Aurelis Trox was the best Trox Core in Year 1, but its Year 2 counterpart is one of the worst. It is a vanilla with mediocre stats and a core lineup that doesn't help it. You could core swap for a Fire Fist to hit 11 damage, but with it not really giving anything in return, the trade isn't worth it. Number 5. Darkest Trox. This Bakugan reminds me of something we would have seen back in the Battle Planet format. Unfortunately, this came out in the Armored Alliance format. The 700 B power is just a bit under the 800 we want to see, which is disappointing, and the cores it brings does not help it much. Number 4. Chaos Trox. Chaos Trox is pretty much a stat swap of Darkest Trox, with it having a stat line of 307. It is like a cruel joke that the core lineup for this damage-heavy Bakugan is focused on B power, while the Darkest Trox, which is more B power focused, has a damage core lineup. You can core swap to get over 10 damage, but Chaos has some better options for damage like Chaos Howlkor and Dragonoid Core. Number 3. Aquos Trox. While the stats may not be as beefy as the last two Bakugan, the inclusion of 2 Helix cores elevates this Bakugan much higher, as not only can it hit for 10 damage with its own core, but also spares a Helix core as well. Number 2. Ventus Trox. Now, Ventus Trox's base form isn't anything special, and the Diamond Evolution is your run-of-the-mill Diamond Evolution, but where it gets solid is with its 3-cost Hyper Evolution that has a stat line of 805 and the Trifecta effect of gaining 400 B power if your Bakugan have 3 or more cores attached to them, making this Bakugan, after landing on the plus 650 Magic Shield Core, 1750 B power, which is pretty solid for a 3-cost evolution back when this first released. Unfortunately, Ventus is just way too stacked, with strong Bakugan in base form as well as Ventus Dragonoid having a similar Trifecta effect, but doing it better. I would make this 3rd place and put Aquos Trox ahead, but Aquos is also stacked with Aquos Hydorous, so it's pretty close. Number 1. Pyrus Trox Core. This Bakugan was actually pretty popular early in release, with its base 10 damage reaching 13 when on the plus 3 Green Fist Core, which is great. While Darkus has now taken over for highest damage wins plays because of Bakugan like Darkus Cycloid and Ryerazu, Pyrus Trox is still formidable, and if you can fit its 5-cost Titan evolution, you're looking at 20 damage, which is bonkers. Overall, I feel like the Trox Core lineup is a bit weaker in the Armored Alliance format compared to how the Battle Planet line was during its format, but Pyrus Trox Core was able to make an impact in tournaments early on. Therefore, Pyrus Trox Core is the best Trox Core in Armored Alliance. Well, this has been Eenoch Blader with my worst to best video on Trox Core. What do you think? Do you agree or disagree? Let me know in the comment section below, and be sure to let me know your favorite Trox Core from Bakugan Armored Alliance. And if you like this video, hit the like button, or don't, I'm not the boss of you. But be sure to subscribe and hit the notification bell so you get updated whenever I upload. Until next time, see ya! Hello my prehistoric ponchos, it's your boy Eenoch Blader, and in this episode, I will be ranking each Trox Ultra released in Bakugan Armored Alliance from worst to best. We will be basing this list off the Bakugan's base stats and effects, their evolutions, and their use in decks. But enough talk, let's get on with the list. Number 6. Aurelius Trox Ultra. Your typical Armored Alliance Aurelius Bakugan, still having comparable stats to Aurelius Bakugan from Battle Planet, despite all the other factions having Bakugan with similar or higher stats. It does have a Helix Core though, but nothing to save it from being in the bottom of the list. Number 5. Darkest Trox Ultra. Same stat line as Aurelius Trox Ultra, but a worse core lineup. However, it does have some more stuff to play around with, like an epic character card that adds the effect of gaining 3 damage and Shadow Strike when a Bakugear is attached to it, which is okay, but with its core lineup, its effect doesn't really do more than what a Bakugan with a Fire Fist can achieve, aside from the Shadow Strike. It does have a 3-cost Hyper Evolution, however, the stats don't really boost enough for it to be worth it, especially since we have amazing high damage Darkest Bakugan like Ryerazu and Cycloid. Number 4. Pyrus Trox Ultra. The Fire Fist is great, but the base stats don't really make use of it. It does have a 10-cost Maximus evolution with the stat line of 1015 and the Victor ability of destroying all enemy energy cards, which would be devastating. Unfortunately, because the base for it isn't good, I don't really see it being worth the evolution cost. Perhaps a divine intervention would make it work, but I feel like Pyrus Tritonium Ultra is a better Bakugan for energy destruction since it's an on-open ability and not a Victor ability. Number 3. Aquos Trox Ultra. Base form isn't anything special, but what is special is the 2-cost Maximus evolution. The stat line of 808 is around base form level, however it gains 500 B power when a Bakugear is attached to it, which can help it reach some high numbers. If this Bakugan had a better core lineup, it could be higher. It also doesn't help that Aquos Hydorous Core exists. Number 2. Ventus Trox Ultra. The only reason Ventus Trox Ultra is so high is because its base form is above average. The double Fire Fist core lineup is great, and with 5 base damage it can hit for 11 damage when on the +6 Fire Fist, which is solid. It does have a 6-cost Diamond evolution with the stat line of 1212, which isn't the worst Diamond evolution I've seen, but it isn't anything special. Number 1. Chaos Trox Ultra. Undoubtedly the best Trox Ultra in Armored Alliance, and one of the best Chaos Bakugan in Armored Alliance. Chaos Trox Ultra brings in that spicy 802 stat line, which when on its +650 magic shield, it reaches the 1450 B power we like to see. Chaos Trox Ultra also has a 7-cost Maximus evolution with the stat line of 1509. Usually, I am not a fan of high-cost evolutions, however, with Chaos Trox Ultra already being strong in base form, it can hold its own until it can evolve. However, it's not just that. Chaos Trox Ultra has a trifecta ability of gaining 1500 B power and 6 damage when your Bakugan have 3 or more cores attached to them, meaning before any core boosts, it hits 3000 B power and 15 damage. That's a Blue Eyes White Dragon right there. Or I guess in this case, Blue Eyes White Dinosaur. Overall, Chaos Trox Ultra is a great Chaos Bakugan for Armored Alliance, and is definitely something that could be splashed into any deck wanting a Chaos Bakugan in their team. Though with Chaos Frascal out in year 3, it seems to have met its match. Well, this has been Eenoch Blader with my worst to best video. What do you think? Do you agree or disagree? Let me know in the comment section below, and be sure to let me know your favorite Pegatrix Ultra from Bakugan Armored Alliance. And if you like this video, hit the like button, or don't, I'm not the boss of you, but be sure to subscribe and hit the notification bell so you get updated whenever I upload. Until next time, see ya! Hello my mystical monkeys, it's your boy Eenoch Blader, and in this video I will be ranking each Trox X Sairus from worst to best. I'll be ranking them by their overall competitive viability in the Bakugan Pro game. But enough talk, let's get on with the list. Number 5. Ventus Aurelis Trox X Sairus. Now this is probably one of the worst fusion Bakugan ever, maybe even the worst Bakugan ever released. Yeah, its core lineup is Magic Shield and Helix, which is great, but its stats are 101, which is abysmal. It costs 5 energy to fuse, but its stats only go up to 1010. You can reach 1800 B power on the plus 800 magic shield, which is nice, but Pyrus Darkus Dragonoid X Tretorous can do that as well while only costing 3 energy to fuse. These stats are definitely not worth it. If the base form is going to be so weak, then the evolution better be good if it costs so much to fuse. Like for example, Pyrus Howlkor Ultra from year 1. It was the boss of Fury for certain builds for a bit, because players found its evolution worth the price of dealing with its weak base form. For Ventus Aurelius Trox X Sairus, there is no worth to the investment. Number 4. Ventus Chaos Trox X Sairus. A core lineup of Shield and Green Fist, which isn't anything special, and a stat line of 503, which also isn't anything special. It costs 5 energy to fuse, which bumps its stats to 1005, so when on the plus 500 fusion only Shield core, it reaches 1500 B power, and for a 5 cost, it's nothing special. There is the 7 cost Diamond evolution, but that's too much of an energy investment on top of the fusion costs to be worth it. Number 3. Pyrus Darkus Trox X Sairus. A nice core lineup of Shield and Helix and a stat line of 504 with the fusion cost of 6 when fused. Its stats bump up to 1012, which isn't really that good considering its B power is gonna max out at 1600 when on the plus 600 minus 3 Helix core, and its damage is nothing too special considering we have non-fusion Bakugan in base form that have 10 damage like Pyrus Trox. Number 2. Darkus Aquos Trox X Sairus. A nice core lineup of Magic Shield and Green Fist, and a stat line of 404. The stats are a bit too low to be good in the format it was released in, but it does only cost 2 energy to fuse. Unfortunately, its stats only boost up to 605, so when on the plus 800 Magic Shield, it reaches 1400 B power, which is less than what the popular non-fusion Bakugan reach in base form. It does have a Victor ability of drawing a card, which is nice, but I don't know how often you will win a brawl to turn you fuse this Bakugan unless you're facing a deck that's not using the strongest Bakugan. Number 1. Aquos Ventus Trox X Sairus. A poor core lineup of Shield and Green Fist and a stat line of 603 with a fuse cost of 6, which bumps up the stats to 1406 with an inherent 3 Frost Strike. On the plus 500 fusion only Shield core, this Bakugan reaches 1900 B power, which isn't horrible, but I feel it would benefit from being cheaper to fuse, even if it meant lowering the amount of Frost Strike it had. Well, honestly, there isn't any Trox X Sairuses that I feel would be worth using, which is a shame, since Trox and Sairus are cool Bakugan. But anyways, this has been Zeonic Blader with my worst to best video. What do you think? Do you agree or disagree? Let me know in the comment section below, and be sure to let me know your favorite Trox X Sairus from Bakugan Armored Alliance. And if you like this video, hit the like button, or don't, I'm not the boss of you. But be sure to subscribe and hit the notification bell so you get updated whenever I upload. Until next time, see ya. Hello my torturous trombones, it's your boy Zeonic Blader, and in this video I will be ranking each Trox X Nobilious Core from worst to best. I'll be ranking them by their overall competitive viability in the Bakugan Pro game. But enough talk, let's get on with the list. And for the supposed final ranking video for Armored Alliance, and once again we have another exclusive mold from the Fusion Battle Bundle. The last one we looked at was pretty bad, but how does this one fare? So at number 1 we have Ventus Aurelius Trox X Nobilious Core. We have a nice core lineup of Helix and Green Fist with a stat line of 303. These stats are pretty low, however its fusion cost is 4, so you won't have to deal with these base stats for too long. Once fused, the stats bump up to 906. The B power goes up to 1500 when on the plus 600 minus 3 Helix Core, and the damage can go up to 11 when on the plus 5 fusion only Green Fist. These are fine stats, however the thing is, many base form Bakugan can reach similar stats or even higher, so having to spend 4 energy to get these stats is not really worth it. But by now we have come to expect that from Fusion Bakugan anyways. It's unfortunate that Fusion Bakugan were made this way. It seems to be some kind of balancing thing by the developers, since having an upgraded form available at all times can be broken in theory. But that's thrown out the window when in the same breath, they make base form Bakugan that reach 1600 B power or more. At that point, it's better just to use the base form Bakugan with higher stats, since you can just use the energy that you would have used to fuse to instead buff up your Bakugan stats to even higher numbers. But anyways, this has been Zeonic Blader with my worst to best video. What do you think? Do you agree or disagree? Let me know in the comment section below, and thank you for sticking with me this entire time. It sure has been quite the journey. Well, I guess it's time to rank the Bakugan from Geogon Rising. If you like this video and you want to see more, hit the like button. Or don't, I'm not the boss of you. But be sure to subscribe and hit the notification bell so you get updated whenever I upload. Until next time, see ya. Hello my newbie Normans, it's your boy Zeonic Blader, and in this video I will be ranking each Trox X Nobilious Ultra from worst to best. I'll be ranking them by their overall competitive viability in the Bakugan Pro game. But enough talk, let's get on with the list. Number 5. Aquos Aurelis Trox X Nobilious Ultra. A nice core lineup of Green Fist and Helix, and a stat line of 601 with the Victor ability of drawing a card when you win a brawl. With these low base stats, you will be lucky to win a brawl, and with a fusion cost of 7, you're gonna have to deal with those base stats for a while. Unfortunately, even when you fuse, the stats only go up to 1012. Focusing on B power, you're reaching 1600 B power on the plus 600 -3 Helix Core, which for 7 energy isn't worth it at all. And focusing on damage, you reach 17 damage when on the plus 5 fusion only Green Fist, which again isn't worth it for 7 energy. Number 4. Hydorous Aurelis Trox X Nobilious Ultra. A poor core lineup of Shield and Green Fist, and a stat line of 306 with the fusion cost of 6. Luckily, at least with 6 damage in base form, if it core swaps with a Fire Fist or Helix Core, it can reach that 10 damage minimum for a damage wins play. When fused, the stats are buffed up to 612. With emphasis on damage, this Bakugan reaches 17 damage when on the plus 5 Green Fist. For the price to fuse, it really isn't worth it. If this Bakugan had a Fire Fist, it would definitely be better. Number 3. Hydorous Aurelis Trox X Nobilious Ultra. A poor core lineup of Shield and Green Fist, and a stat line of 306. Similar to the last entry, if you core swap for a Helix or Fire Fist, you reach the 10 damage minimum for a damage wins play. The 6 energy to fuse bumps this Bakugan stats to 1407, which can go further to 1900 on the plus 500 fusion only Shield Core, or 12 damage when on the plus 5 fusion only Green Fist. These are some balanced stats, but for 6 energy, it's not really worth it. Number 2. Ventus Aurelis Trox X Nobilious Ultra. An amazing core lineup of Magic Shield and Helix, and a stat line of 503 with a hefty fusion cost of 8, which bumps up the stats to 1608. When on the plus 800 fusion only Magic Shield, this Bakugan reaches 2400 B power, which is the highest out of all the Trox X Nobilious Ultras released. That being said, 8 is pretty expensive, and it's much better just to go for a strong base form Bakugan and put energy into that with action cards. Number 1. Darkus Aurelis Trox X Nobilious Ultra. A poor core lineup of 2 Green Fists and a stat line of 206. However, it has a cheap fusion cost of 3, which bumps up the stats to 308, as well as gaining it the effect of plus 1000 B power when on a Green Fist core. When on the plus 150 B power Green Fist core, this Bakugan is at 1450 B power. Honestly, if its fused state was a base form Bakugan, it would have made Green Fists much better. This is the best Trox X Nobilious Ultra because of how cheap it is to fuse, with it being fairly strong when fused. Even though, however, its stats when fused rival Bakugan in base form who don't need to spend energy to get to that 1450 B power. Overall, it's getting pretty annoying reviewing so many fusion Bakugan that can't really put up a fight, especially when their designs are so cool. But anyways, this has been Zeonic Blader with my worst to best video. What do you think? Do you agree or disagree? Let me know in the comment section below, and be sure to let me know your favorite Trox X Nobilious Ultra from Bakugan Armored Alliance. And if you like this video, hit the like button, or don't, I'm not the boss of you, but be sure to subscribe and hit the notification bell so you get updated whenever I upload. Until next time, see ya. Hello my cylindrical psychedelics, it's your boy Zeonic Blader, and in this video I will be ranking Cycloid Core from worst to best. I will be ranking them by their overall competitive viability in the Bakugan Pro game. But enough talk, let's get on with the list. Number 6, Aquos Cycloid. I would say the first 3 Cycloids on this list are pretty bad, but the most mediocre out of them is the Aquos one. A poor core lineup of Green Fist and Shield, which doesn't help its base stats of 506, so you would need to core swap for a Fire Fist. But why would you want to do that, especially since Aquos has so many other great Bakugan to use? Number 5, Pyrus Cycloid. Similar to its Aquos cousin, but with 2 shield cores, which doesn't really help its 307 base stat line. At least its damage is higher, however Pyrus already has high damage Bakugan like Dragonoid Core. Pyrus Cycloid does have a 6 cost diamond evolution with the stat line of 1013, but with no effect. With its bad core lineup, it is pretty underwhelming for the energy it costs. Number 4, Ventus Cycloid. A much better core lineup than the previous 2 because of the Fire Fist. However, it doesn't have the stats to make use of that Fire Fist. It does have an epic character card that adds an effect that reduces your opponent's damage by 3 when you add a Bakugear onto it, but I would have preferred just having Ventus Cycloid actually have 3 more base damage instead. Number 3, Aurelius Cycloid. A core lineup of Shield and Green Fist, and a base stat line of 801. Usually, I would say it's bad, however, it does have the effect of gaining 2 damage when on a Green Fist, but with it totaling to 6 after landing on the +3 Fist core, it isn't worth it. However, it does gain 200 B power on a Shield core. Unfortunately, Aurelius can only use the +300 shield cores, meaning it reaches 1300, which is under the 1450 B power we really want to see. And with no evolution, this Bakugan is stuck at almost being good. You may find success with it in a mono Aurelius team perhaps, but I can't really say how good that kind of team would be. Number 2, Chaos Cycloid. Once again, a core lineup of Green Fist and Shield. It feels like the developers really like this core lineup for some reason. Luckily, with a stat line of 207, when on the +3 Green Fist, it reaches that minimum 10 damage we like to see for damage wins plays. Number 1, Darkus Cycloid. By far the best Cycloid released, and one of the best Darkus Bakugan in the game, Darkus Cycloid has an amazing core lineup of double Fire Fist, and a great stat line to take advantage of it with 200 B power and 8 damage. Meaning, when on the +6 Fire Fist, it reaches a spicy 14 damage. On top of that, when on a Fire Fist, it gains 600 B power and Shadow Strike. While the B power isn't really anything special, the Shadow Strike makes it immune to stat reducing effects. This Bakugan is a great Bakugan for damage wins plays, but especially for Serpenteze burn decks because of the Fire Fists it brings. and with its high base damage, it means it can even be used for highest damage wins plays when using the +3 damage Green Fist that Serpenteze brings, making it the #1 Cycloid Core. Well, this has been Zeonic Blader with my worst to best video. What do you think? Do you agree or disagree? Let me know in the comment section below, and be sure to let me know your favorite Cycloid Core from Bakugan Armored Alliance. And if you like this video, hit the like button, or don't. I'm not the boss of you, but be sure to subscribe and hit the notification bell so you get updated whenever I upload. Until next time, see ya! Hello my crawling caterpillars, it's your boy Zeonic Blader, and in this video I will be ranking each Centipod core from worst to best. I will be ranking them by their overall competitive viability in the Bakugan Pro game. But enough talk, let's get on with the list. Number 5. Aurelus Centipod. I'm not sure why there are so many Bakugan with shields and Green Fists in their core lineup, but it is starting to annoy me. Double Green Fists and a stat line of 702 is atrocious. This is something you would have seen from a mediocre Bakugan back in the later parts of the Battle Planet meta. Number 4. Pyrus Centipod. Similar to Aurelus Centipod, but with shield cores instead. With the stat line of 604, you're gonna want to core swap for a Fire Fist to reach 10 damage, but why would you do that with this Bakugan when it offers nothing else in return? Just use a different high damage Bakugan like Pyrus Dragonoid Core. Number 3. Chaos Centipod. Once again, another Bakugan with a shield and Green Fist core lineup. With the stat line of 406, the most use out of this Bakugan will be when you core swap for a Fire Fist to reach 12 damage for a damage play, but it's not worth it. This Bakugan did get some height because of its blind box exclusive diamond form, but the actual evolution itself is okay. A 5 cost with a stat line of 507 and the effect of gaining a whopping 1000 B power when on the Green Fist, and for some reason 10 damage on a Helix, even though it doesn't come with a Helix. However, that Green Fist B power boost is nice, and I wish the base form had it. Though 1650 B power after landing on the +150 Green Fist isn't really that impressive for a 5 cost, especially these days. Number 2. Aquos Centipod. Finally, a Centipod with a solid core lineup. The magic shield is great, but the base stats of 603 leaves more to be desired. It does reach 1250 B power when on the +650 magic shield, which at one point would have made this Bakugan a contender for a mono Aquos deck, but since the release of Aquos Howlkor Ultra in Bakugan Geogan Rising, this Bakugan has lost that spot. Number 1. Ventus Centipod. Finally, a Centipod that is actually decent in base form. It has a solid core lineup of shield and Fire Fist and a stat line of 306. When on the +6 Fire Fist, it reaches 12 damage, which is great for damage wins plays. Though I do wonder how often you would want to use a Ventus Bakugan for that kind of play, but alas, the choice is still there. Well, this has been Zeonic Blader with my worst to best video. What do you think? Do you agree or disagree? Let me know in the comment section below, and be sure to let me know your favorite Centipod core from Bakugan Armored Alliance. And if you like this video, hit the like button, or don't. I'm not the boss of you, but be sure to subscribe and hit the notification bell so you get updated whenever I upload. Until next time, see ya! Hello my awesome auxiliary cables, it's your boy Zeonic Blader, and in this video I will be ranking each Auxillataur core from worst to best. I will be ranking them by their overall competitive viability in the Bakugan Pro game, but enough talk, let's get on with the list. Number 6. Ventus Auxillataur. This list is interesting because these first 3 Bakugan are pretty mediocre, while the last 3 are much better in comparison. As for Ventus Auxillataur, its double shield core lineup isn't good, especially with a stat line of 306, meaning to get the most out of this Bakugan, you would need to core swap for a Fire Fist to reach 12 damage. It does have a 3-cost Hyper Evolution, but it mainly buffs up its B power and gains the Victor ability of destroying a Bakugear. It doesn't really put much of a fight against Bakugan that are strong in base form like Aqua's Hydorous Core. Number 5. Aurelius Auxillataur. These next 2 Bakugan are pretty similar. Aurelius Auxillataur's base form isn't anything special. With 2 shield cores and a stat line of 306, it's pretty much the same as Ventus Auxillataur. It does have an epic character card, however, that lets it gain the effect of making both players draw a card at the start of the game, which is neat, but doesn't really make up for its poor base stats. It has a 4-cost Diamond Evolution with the stat line of 610, which isn't really anything good, especially for the cost. Number 4. Aquas Auxillataur. Aquas Auxillataur is very similar to Aurelius Auxillataur, however it has 1 less damage and no evolution. Its epic character card also has a similar effect, however instead of both players drawing a card at the beginning of the game, only the player with Aquas Auxillataur draws the card, which, along with it being a Bakugan of the Aquas faction, makes it better than Aurelius Auxillataur. Number 3. Darkus Auxillataur. These next 3 Bakugan were pretty tricky to rank because I like them all. However, Darkus Auxillataur gets the 3rd spot because while its base 10 damage is amazing and it does get up to 13 damage when on the +3 Green Fist, the Darkus faction already has great high damage Bakugan that don't have to deal with Green Fists like Darkus Ryerazu and Darkus Cycloid. Due to the Green Fist not being that good, it drops Darkus Auxillataur's rank compared to these next 2 Bakugan. Number 2. Pyrus Auxillataur. A double Magic Shield core lineup is amazing, and with a stat line of 405, it is just begging to core swap for a Fire Fist, and because it brings in 2 Magic Shields, it is definitely worth it. However, that being said, Darkus Sairus Ultra is probably a better option because the main core swap target I think of is Pyrus Dragonoid Ultra from Geogon Rising that has 1000 B power and a Fire Fist. Having a Darkus and Pyrus is usually better, however Pyrus Auxillataur would make a great addition to a mono Pyrus deck. Number 1. Chaos Auxillataur. Chaos Auxillataur is similar to Pyrus Auxillataur, however these stats are better and it gives double Helix Cores instead. Helix Cores have become a lot stronger ever since Aqua's Hydorous came out. On top of that, because Helix Cores can also give a substantial boost in damage, Chaos Auxillataur can reach over 10 damage without core swapping, which is great. I can see this Bakugan on a team with Chaos Hydorous Core from Armored Alliance and Pyrus Dragonoid Ultra from Geogon Rising. There are some sacrifices when compared to Pyrus Auxillataur with Helix Cores giving less B power than Magic Shields, and also the stats are overall reduced, but I feel the faction diversity makes up for it. Well, this has been Zeonic Blader with my worst to best video. What do you think? Do you agree or disagree? Let me know in the comment section below, and be sure to let me know your favorite Auxillataur core from Bakugan Armored Alliance. And if you like this video, hit the like button or don't. I'm not the boss of you, but be sure to subscribe and hit the notification bell so you get updated whenever I upload. Until next time. See ya. Hello my gravitational groceries, it's your boy Zeonic Blader, and in this video I will be ranking each Gillator Ultra from worst to best. I'll be ranking them by their overall competitive viability in the Bakugan Pro game. But enough talk, let's get on with the list. Number 5. Darkus Gillator Ultra. The only Gillator Ultra to not only have an epic character card, but also an evolution. It is a shame it still isn't that good. In base form, you have a poor core lineup of 2 Green Fists and an abysmal stat line of 502. Darkus Gillator Ultra does have an epic character card that adds the effect that each player must discard a card at the beginning of the game, which can be annoying, but other than that, it doesn't really help. Especially since if you want to focus your deck around making your opponent discard cards, then Darkus Cubbo is better for you. Darkus Gillator does have a 4-cost Titan evolution with the stat line of 1004, which is something we would have seen back in year 1, so its stats are nothing special. It does have a Victor ability where the opposing player must discard a card for each Bakugear attached to it when the opponent loses a brawl against it. However, that's like 1, maybe 2 cards to discard, which, don't get me wrong, is cool, but being a Victor ability, especially when this Bakugan is so mediocre, doesn't really help. Just use Darkus Cubbo. Number 4. Aquos Gillator Ultra. A bit of a step up, especially since the core lineup is Magic Shield and Green Fist. Unfortunately, with a stat line of 602, it doesn't reach any good numbers. It may have seen a spot in a mono Aquos deck because its B power reached 1250 on the plus 650 Magic Shield, but just like Aquos Centipod, once Aquos Howlkor Ultra released in Geogon Rising, this Bakugan lost its spot. Aquos Gillator Ultra does have a 3-cost Hyper Evolution with a stat line of 907, which isn't anything special. And the Victor ability of being able to return a Bakugear to your hand, which I don't know why you would want to do that. Perhaps to reuse the Bakugears that have on-play effects, but I'm not sure if using this Bakugan in particular is worth it for that effect. Number 3. Ventus Gillator Ultra. A nice core lineup of Magic Shield and Shield, and a stat line of 406, making this Bakugan worth the core swap for a Fire Fist to reach 12 damage. Number 2. Pyrus Gillator Ultra. A nice core lineup of Helix and Shield, along with the stat line of 406. The first Gillator on this list that would actually put up a fight without any core swapping, reaching 11 damage when on the minus 200 plus 5 Helix core. Pyrus Gillator Ultra also has a 5-cost Diamond Evolution, which bumps up the stats to 1307, which is fine, but with how powerful base form Bakugan can be now, evolutions have to do more to be worth using. Alright, so number 1 was going to be Aurelius Gillator Ultra. However, since writing and recording the script, I have found out that Aurelius Gillator Ultra, at least the character card for it, is extremely difficult to find, and unfortunately, Spin Master isn't giving replacements for that character card anymore. So if you buy an Aurelius Gillator Ultra in the wild, it may or may not actually have the character card it needs. So, and most likely, it's probably not going to have the character card it needs. So, yeah, I guess number 1 is actually Pyrus Gillator Ultra, because you can actually get the character card for it. But I guess you can also print a proxy for it, but for some reason Spin Master is against proxies. But I think in this case, a proxy for the Aurelius Gillator Ultra would be fine. But anyways, I'm just going to continue off this video regularly. So, okay, bye-bye. Number 1. Aurelius Gillator Ultra. This Bakugan has an amazing core lineup of Magic Shield and Helix, and a stat line of 208. It's a Bakugan that pulls its weight when core swapping, while also being able to hold its own without core swapping, reaching a nice 13 damage when on the minus 200 plus 5 Helix core. Unfortunately, it is an Aurelius Bakugan, which limits the card pool you have to build a deck with, but overall, this Bakugan is solid and the best Gillator Ultra released in Bakugan Armored Alliance. Well, this has been Eenoch Blader with my worst to best video. What do you think? Do you agree or disagree? Let me know in the comment section below, and be sure to let me know your favorite Gillator Ultra from Bakugan Armored Alliance. And if you like this video, hit the like button or don't. I'm not the boss of you, but be sure to subscribe and hit the notification bell so you get updated whenever I upload. Until next time, see ya. Hello my raging reptilians, it's your boy Eenoch Ultra, and in this video I will be ranking each Ramparian Ultra from worst to best. I will be ranking them by their overall competitive viability in the Bakugan Pro game. But enough talk, let's get on with the list. Number 5. Hydorous Ramparian Ultra. There's quite a few strong Ramparian Ultras, however, these first two on the list aren't so great. Hydorous Ramparian Ultra has a nice core lineup of Shield and Helix, but unfortunately a stat line of 603 and no effect, which is too low to be against the top Bakugan in the format. Number 4. Hydorous Ramparian Ultra. A bit better than Hydorous Ramparian Ultra, but far from the best of the Bakugan on the list. Base form is nothing special. It has the Green Fist Shield Core lineup that I strongly dislike, and a stat line of 605. The B power is too low, but at the very least, at 5 damage, if it core swaps for a Fire Fist or Helix Core, it can reach the 10 damage minimum I like to see for damage wins plays. Though, other than being the Ramparian that's in the show, it does not really offer much in return. Hydorous Ramparian Ultra does have a 3-cost Diamond evolution with the stat line of 508 and the effect of gaining 500 B power when on a Shield Core. First of all, the reduction in base B power is silly, but the effect is cool. When on the plus 400 faction-specific Shield Core, Diamond Ramparian Ultra reaches a solid 1400 B power. Well, it would be solid if this was its base form, barely missing out on that 1450 we like to see. Unfortunately, this is an evolution. Honestly, if you reduce the damage on this Bakugan's evolution, but kept everything else, it would be an okay base form Bakugan. But because it is an evolution, it's a disappointment. Number 3. Hydorous Ramparian Ultra. Now we are getting to the good ones. Hydorous Ramparian Ultra has a double Helix Core lineup and a stat line of 208. The 8 damage is great, and with it having a double core lineup of one of the strongest cores in the game, it can not only be great for core swapping, but also strong using its own cores, reaching 13 damage when on the minus 200 plus 5 Helix Core. Unfortunately, it is an Hydorous Bakugan, which means it doesn't bring in much of a card pool, which is a shame since there are Darkest Bakugan that fit similar roles like Darkest Ryerazu and Darkest Cycloid without the drawback of being Hydorous. Number 2. Hydorous Ramparian Ultra. This is pretty much a better version of Hydorous Ramparian Ultra. It has 2 Fire Fists in its core lineup, which is amazing, and a stat line of 407, with the effect of gaining 300 B power when on a Fire Fist. The effect is something you can ignore since this Bakugan is great for damage wins plays, reaching a spicy 13 damage when on a plus 6 Fire Fist. Not only that, because it has a Fire Fist to spare, this Bakugan is a great option for Serpenteze burn decks, allowing Serpenteze to have more Fire Fists to get its effects off. And because Hydorous Ramparian Ultra has 7 base damage, it can even make use of the Green Fist that Serpenteze burn decks have, letting it hit that minimum 10 damage when on the plus 3 Green Fist. Number 1. Ventus and Darkest Ramparian Ultra. At number 1, we have a tie. Darkest Ramparian Ultra and Ventus Ramparian Ultra are the exact same Bakugan. Both have a Magic Shield and Shield in their core lineup, and both have the base stat line of 802, meaning these Bakugan are great as they are the baseline of what you want in your team, a Bakugan that reaches the 1450 B power threshold. In my opinion, I think Darkest Ramparian Ultra is better in the Armored Alliance format, only because Ventus has so many strong Bakugan that Ventus Ramparian Ultra can be overlooked for the likes of Ventus Nillious Ultra and Ventus Dragonoid Core, while Darkest Ramparian Ultra is pretty much the best B-power Darkest Bakugan in Armored Alliance that doesn't need to core swap. But because they are pretty much the same aside from faction, I will give them the tie for first place. That being said, with the release of Geogon Rising, 2 new Bakugan have taken the place of Ventus and Darkest Ramparian Ultra, that being Ventus Nillious Core and Darkest Spartillion Core, who have the stat line of 1602, effectively outclassing Darkest and Ventus Ramparian Ultra. So if you're playing Bakugan outside of the Bakugan Armored Alliance format, perhaps those two Bakugan are better looked at for your team instead of these two. Well, this has been Eenoch Blader with my worst to best video. What do you think? Do you agree or disagree? Let me know in the comment section below, and be sure to let me know your favorite Ramparian Ultra from Bakugan Armored Alliance. And if you like this video, hit the like button. Or don't, I'm not the boss of you. But be sure to subscribe and hit the notification bell so you get updated whenever I upload. Until next time, see ya. Hello my angelic angles, it's your boy Eenoch Blader, and in this video I will be ranking each Sairus Ultra from worst to best. I will be ranking them by their overall competitive viability in the Bakugan Pro game, but enough talk, let's get on with the list. Number 5, Sairus Ultra. With a Green Fist and Shield Core in its lineup and a stat line of 701, this is something we would have seen from a Bakugan back in year 1. By the time Sairus Ultra was released, these stats with this core lineup is a disappointment, especially since it's the main faction of Sairus. Sairus Ultra does have an epic character card that adds the effect of giving a Bakugan +3 damage for the turn. While that's nice, it being turn 1 kind of limits it, since it's usually on turn 2 or higher when you do a damage wins play. Though if you have access to this epic character card, you probably already have access to the cards that let you do a damage wins play in turn 1. That being said, +3 damage in exchange for a mediocre Bakugan for the rest of their turn isn't worth it. Number 4, Ventus Sairus Ultra. Similar to its Chaos counterpart, this Bakugan has the core lineup of double Green Fist and a stat line of 701. It does gain 5 damage when on a Green Fist, maxing this Bakugan at 9 damage when on the +3 Green Fist, which is just under the minimum 10 damage in base form we like to see. Number 3, Sairus Ultra. Starting off with a nice core lineup of Green Fist and Helix Core, unfortunately with a stat line of 304, this Bakugan is pretty unimpressive. At the very least, if it core swaps for a Fire Fist, it can reach 10 damage on a +6 Fire Fist, which is good for highest damage wins plays, though there are so many other better Bakugan for that. In fact, we will be getting to that one soon. Number 2, Sairus Ultra. Double Green Fist core lineup once again, but at least it has a stat line of 803. If it core swaps for a magic shield, it can hit the 1450B power we like to see. Unfortunately, the trade-off isn't really worth it, especially since this Bakugan has 2 Green Fists and it is an Aurelus Bakugan. If you want to use an Aurelus Bakugan that does what Aurelus Sairus does but better, go for Aurelus Hydorous Ultra. Number 1, Darkest Sairus Ultra. By far the best Sairus Ultra, and in my opinion, the best Bakugan people don't really talk about. Darkest Sairus Ultra has an amazing core lineup of double magic shield. It also has a stat line of 405, so while its stat line doesn't take advantage of its core lineup, it does make for the perfect Bakugan to core swap with. This Bakugan is great with Dragonoid Ultra from Geogon Rising, as that Bakugan has 1000 base B power and a Fire Fist it doesn't really need. So you swap the cores and now Dragonoid Ultra has a whopping 1650 B power, and Sairus hits for a nice 11 damage, which is great for damage wins plays. Darkest Sairus Ultra also has a 5-cost Titan evolution with the stat line of 1206 and the effect of gaining 8 damage when on a magic shield. This is actually pretty solid, allowing it to reach a nice stat line of 1850 B power and 14 damage when on a 650 magic shield. Unfortunately, while this evolution isn't bad, evolutions are in a pretty bad spot right now because it's so much better most of the time just to use a strong base form Bakugan and spend that energy on other cards. It's disappointing, but at the very least, Sairus Ultra is great in base form when with the right team. Well, this has been Eenoch Blader with my worst to best video. What do you think? Do you agree or disagree? Let me know in the comment section below, and be sure to let me know your favorite Sairus Ultra from Bakugan Armored Alliance. And if you like this video, hit the like button, or don't. I'm not the boss of you. But be sure to subscribe and hit the notification bell so you get updated whenever I upload. Until next time, see ya! Hello my treacherous trombones, it's your boy Eenoch Blader, and in this video, I will be ranking each Tretorous Ultra from worst to best. I will be ranking them by their overall competitive viability in the Bakugan Pro game. But enough talk, let's get on with the list. Number 6, Darkest Tretorous Ultra. The main faction for Tretorous, and unfortunately the worst. Honestly, the entire Tretorous Ultra line is pretty mediocre, but the darkest one is the worst of it, despite being the only one to get both an epic character card and evolution. First of all, Darkest Tretorous Ultra has the nasty double Green Fist Core lineup. On top of that, it has a stat line of 603, which is way too low to do anything even if you use another Bakugan's core. The epic character card adds a reroll effect, but honestly, even with it, it does not save it from being bad. There's also the 6-cost Diamond Evolution that actually has a hefty 1608 stat line, but these evolutions, especially the ones that cost that much, really need to do something amazing. Like for example, Chaos Maximus Pegatrix Ultra that steals all your opponent's Baku cores when it opens. Now that's something worth the cost. As for Darkest Tretorous Ultra, it definitely earns its spot on the bottom. Number 5, Pyrus Tretorous Ultra. Another poor stat line of 602, but at the very least it has a nice core lineup of Green Fist and Magic Shield. Its stats are too low to really do anything with the Magic Shield, giving it the number 5 spot. Number 4, Ventus Tretorous Ultra. An okay Bakugan with a nice core lineup of Magic Shield and Shield, and a stat line of 702, which isn't bad, as when on the plus 650 Magic Shield, it reaches 1350 B power, which used to be the baseline for competitive B power, but now it's 1450. Ventus Tretorous Ultra does have an epic character card that adds the effect of gaining 6 damage and Shadow Strike when a Baku gear is attached to it, which is actually a pretty substantial boost. If it were a B power boost, this Bakugan could have been one of the best Ventus Bakugan. Ventus Tretorous isn't a bad Bakugan, but Ventus has so many great high B power Bakugan that Ventus Tretorous Ultra can't even get a spot in a mono Ventus team. Number 3, Aurelius Tretorous Ultra. This Bakugan has a nice core lineup of Fire Fist and Shield, and thankfully has a stat line that can take advantage of it. With 700 B power and 4 damage, when on the plus 6 Fire Fist, it reaches the minimum 10 damage we like to see for damage wins plays. Unfortunately, it is an Aurelius Bakugan, and due to the limited card pool it brings, you want an Aurelius Bakugan that can make up for that. Unfortunately, just like most if not all Aurelius Bakugan released, Aurelius Tretorous doesn't do anything that a Bakugan from another faction can do just as well, if not better. Number 2, Chaos Tretorous Ultra. Here we go, Magic Shield and Fire Fist. It is one of the best core lineups to have. Plus, this Bakugan has a stat line of 504, meaning it can reach 10 damage when on the plus 6 Fire Fist for the highest damage wins plays, while also sparing a Magic Shield, which is great. Number 1, Aquos Tretorous Ultra. This is pretty much a better version of Chaos Tretorous. Aquos Tretorous Ultra also has one of the best core lineups in the game with Magic Shield and Helix and a stat line of 407, meaning when on the minus 200 plus 5 Helix, it reaches a spicy 12 damage for those highest damage wins plays. Overall, the Tretorous Ultra line is a bit underwhelming, but it does have a couple solid Bakugan that, while not the best, are okay for what they do. Well, this has been Eenoch Blader with my worst to best video. What do you think? Do you agree or disagree? Let me know in the comment section below, and be sure to let me know your favorite Tretorous Ultra from Bakugan Armored Alliance. And if you like this video, hit the like button, or don't. I'm not the boss of you, but be sure to subscribe and hit the notification bell so you get updated whenever I upload. Until next time, see ya! Hello my energetic enigmas, it's your boy Eenoch Blader, and in this video I will be ranking each Eenoch Ultra from worst to best. I will be ranking them by their overall competitive viability in the Bakugan Pro game, but enough talk, let's get on with the list. Number 5, Hydorous Eenoch Ultra. A cruel fate for this Bakugan, a double shield core lineup and a stat line of 601 with the effect of gaining 6 damage when on a shield core. It's very cruel that the developers gave this Bakugan the effect because shield cores barely boost damage. The most you're gonna get is 1 damage from a shield core, making Hydorous Eenoch Ultra reach 8 damage, which is under the 10 damage minimum we want to see for a highest damage wins plays Bakugan. With a B power of 600 and it being a double shield core Bakugan, that's a stat and core lineup of something that was good way back in the first few waves of year 1, not something that will be good at the time this Bakugan was released. Number 4, Howlkor Eenoch Ultra. A nice core lineup of magic, shield, and shield, it unfortunately doesn't have the stats to make use of it at 604. It can core swap for a Fire Fist to reach a nice 10 damage for a damage wins play, but despite it offering a magic shield core in a format that has Aqua's Hydorous Core, there's absolutely no reason to use this Bakugan. Howlkor Eenoch has a 4-cost Titan evolution with the stat line of 1205 and the boost effect of gaining 5 damage when having 7 or more cards in play. This card isn't horrible, but in a meta that favors powerful base form Bakugan, having to spend energy on an evolution and also meet a certain condition to reach maximum potential isn't really ideal. Number 3, Hydorous Eenoch Ultra. A nice core lineup of shield and Fire Fist with a solid stat line of 406, allowing it to reach 12 damage on a +6 Fire Fist for those highest damage wins plays. Number 2, Hydorous Eenoch Ultra. Double Green Fist, which isn't good, but it does have a stat line of 408, letting it reach 11 damage on a Green Fist, though it being Hydorous hurts it due to the lack of cards the faction has. Better to use a Bakugan like Hydorous Dragonoid Ultra from Armored Alliance or Ultima Dragonoid. Hydorous Eenoch Ultra also has a 5-cost Titan evolution with the stat line of 1210 and the effect of being able to swap Baku cores with your opponent when it opens. Using this Bakugan for core swapping would make for a solid strategy, though I would probably recommend checking out Ventus Tertonium and Aquos Mantinoid due to them being able to do the same effect but for a cheaper evolution cost, though at the expense of lower stats. I was originally thinking of this Bakugan as 3rd place, but I think its niche allows it to be better than a general high damage Bakugan that's most likely to be overlooked for something else. Number 1, Hydorous Eenoch Ultra. Quickly outclassed by Hydorous Ramparian Ultra, Hydorous Eenoch Ultra had a spot as one of the best Hydorous Bakugan for a short while. Its core lineup is a nice magic shield and Green Fist and has the stat line of 704, letting it reach a nice 1350 B power when on the +650 magic shield, which was still good back when it was released, though these days with the B power cap rising, 1450 is the new 1350. So where does that leave Eenoch Ultra now? Well, it has a 9-cost Diamond evolution with the stat line of 1414, but for the energy cost, it really isn't worth it. It does, however, have a 5-cost Maximus evolution with the stat line of 1405 and the effect of gaining 10 damage if you have a Fusion Bakugan in your team. So for almost half as much energy, you have a Bakugan that's stronger than its diamond form by 1 damage. Even then, while this evolution isn't bad per se, evolutions in general are a bit less desirable due to the amount of powerful Bakugan that don't need to evolve. Darkest Eenoch Ultra definitely synergizes well with a team that has a fusion Bakugan, but when compared to the likes of Sync, it doesn't really match up well. However, it's still good to know that this cool Bakugan isn't completely out of the game yet with its niche position. Though with Geogon Rising out, it's not really that good anymore. Well, this has been Zeonic Blader with my worst to best video. What do you think? Do you agree or disagree? Let me know in the comment section below, and be sure to let me know your favorite Eenoch Ultra from Bakugan Armored Alliance. And if you like this video, hit the like button or don't. I'm not the boss of you, but be sure to subscribe and hit the notification bell so you get updated whenever I upload. Until next time, see ya. Hello my mariachi mammoths, it's your boy Zeonic Blader, and in this video, I will be ranking each Maxodon core from worst to best. I will be ranking them by their overall competitive viability in the Bakugan Pro game for the Armored Alliance meta. But enough talk, let's get on with the list. Number 5, Aquos Maxodon. 2 Green Fist and a stat line of 504, nothing special here. You could Core Sop for 10 damage with a +6 Fire Fist, but Aquos Maxodon does not do anything to return the favor. With Aquos Hydorous Core being a thing, there's absolutely no reason to use this Bakugan. Number 4, Pyrus Maxodon. A double Helix Core lineup which is amazing, however its base stats of 202 are awful, and its effect is like a slap in the face. Plus 300 B power and double strike when on a Helix. The best thing you can do for this Bakugan is using the plus 600 -3 Helix Core to get its B power to 1100, which isn't good, but it's the best it can do. With 2 base damage, it's gonna be 0 after that reduction, making the double strike worthless. And even if you boosted the damage with the -200 plus 5 Helix Core, it's still gonna be under the 10 damage minimum we want to see for a damage wins play. Number 3, Chaos Maxodon. A Chaos Bakugan with double shield cores and a stat line of 605. This would have been great back in early year 1, but in year 2, it's just too late. It does have an epic character card which adds the effect of being able to reroll if you attach a Bakugear onto it, which is kind of silly since it's already open and it rerolling is a bit redundant. It's probably better if you roll on the wrong core, but honestly I'd use a reroll card rather than having to deal with a Bakugan that is this outclassed. At the very least, with 5 damage it can core swap for a highest damage wins play at 11 damage after landing on the +6 Fire Fist, but it doesn't really do much to give back to the team. Number 2, Aurelius Maxodon. Finally, a Maxodon that can put up a fight on its own. It has a core lineup of Shield and Helix and a stat line of 505, which is something that hasn't been good since year 1. However, when on the -200 plus 5 Helix Core, it reaches 10 damage, which is the minimum I like to see for highest damage wins plays. Number 1, Ventus Maxodon. Pretty much the same as Aurelius Maxodon, but it's Ventus which has a better card pool, and it has 100 more B power, though we are mainly going to be using this Bakugan for its damage. That is if we actually decide to use it. When on its Helix Core, it can reach 10 damage on the -200 plus 5 Helix Core for those highest damage wins plays. Overall, the Maxodon line is pretty underwhelming. They either need another Bakugan's core to be good while not offering anything in return, or they just aren't that good when compared to other Bakugan in their faction, like Ventus Maxodon. It can hit the 10 damage minimum, but Ventus is better for its Bakugan that have high B power. Well, this has been Zeonic Blader with my worst to best video. What do you think? Do you agree or disagree? Let me know in the comment section below, and be sure to let me know your favorite Eenoch Ultra from Bakugan Armored Alliance. And if you like this video, hit the like button, or don't. I'm not the boss of you. But be sure to subscribe and hit the notification bell so you get updated whenever I upload. Until next time, see ya! Hello my enthusiastic eggnogs, it's your boy Zeonic Blader, and in this video I will be ranking each Cimoga core from worst to best. I will be ranking them by their overall competitive viability in the Bakugan Pro game. But enough talk, let's get on with the list. Number 6, Pyrus Cimoga. Nothing anything special here. 2 Green Fist and a stat line of 703, which doesn't allow it to reach the minimum 1450 B power or 10 damage we want to see even when using the optimal cores. Number 5, Chaos Cimoga. We get a bit better with this one. While the stats are low and aren't competitive even when using the optimal cores, it does have a great core lineup of Fire Fist and Helix. Number 4, Aurelius Cimoga. 2 shield cores in its lineup, which isn't good, but it has a stat line of 701 and the effect of gaining 300 B power and 4 damage, which is nice. But unfortunately, the most optimum core for Aurelius Cimoga is the plus 300 shield core, as there is no faction specific shield core for Aurelius. Meaning, Aurelius Cimoga reaches 1305, which is unfortunately too low for year 2 standards. Number 3, Darkus Cimoga. A core lineup of 2 shield cores, which isn't good these days, but with a stat line of 307, at the very least it can take another Bakugan's damage boosting core to reach and or exceed the 10 damage minimum we like to see for a damage wins Bakugan. Though at the same time, this Bakugan doesn't really do much to pay for that core swap, especially since there are a lot of high damage Darkus Bakugan that offer more. Number 2, Aquos Cimoga. Finally, a Cimoga that can actually put up a fight by itself. A nice core lineup of Green Fist and Fire Fist, and a stat line of 405, letting it reach 11 damage when on a plus 6 Fire Fist. And number 1, Ventus Cimoga. The best Cimoga by quite a margin. It has a great double Helix core lineup and a stat line of 202 with the effect of gaining 500 B power and 5 damage when on a Helix core. You're gonna want to focus on damage to make the most of this Bakugan, so when on the minus 200 plus 5 Helix core, you're reaching a nice 12 damage for a highest damage wins play. Well, this has been Zeonic Blader with my worst to best video. What do you think? Do you agree or disagree? Let me know in the comment section below, and be sure to let me know your favorite Cimoga from Bakugan Armored Alliance. And if you like this video, hit the like button, or don't. I'm not the boss of you, but be sure to subscribe and hit the notification bell so you get updated whenever I upload. Until next time, see ya. Hello my buzzing bees, it's your boy Zeonic Blader, and in this video I will be ranking each Barbetra core from worst to best. I'll be ranking them by their overall competitive viability in the Bakugan Pro game. But enough talk, let's get on with the list. Number 6, Pyrus Barbetra. Or Barbetra. Actually, I have no idea how to pronounce his name. Or maybe it's Barbetra. I don't know, whatever. 2 Green Fist and a stat line of 702 with no effect was no good by the time this Bakugan came out. 700 B power with 2 Green Fist cores seemed to be a favorite combination with the developers for some reason. Number 5, Aurelius Barbetra. Double Green Fist, which is not good, and a stat line of 406 with the effect of gaining 200 B power when on a Green Fist. To be honest, that effect isn't really going to help it. Best case for this Bakugan is to give it another Bakugan's Fire Fist or Helix Core to go over the minimum 10 damage we want to see for a damage wins play. but this Bakugan doesn't really make up for that trade. Number 4, Darkest Barbetra. A nice core lineup of Magic Shield and Green Fist, and a stat line of 604 with the effect of gaining 4 damage when on a Magic Shield. Ironically, this Bakugan will benefit more from swapping its Magic Shield with another Bakugan's Fire Fist to reach that 10 damage minimum. Number 3, Aquos Barbetra. Similar to Darkest Barbetra, Aquos Barbetra is nice for core swapping with its Magic Shield for another Bakugan's Fire Fist to reach 11 damage when on the +6 Fire Fist. Number 2, Ventus Barbetra. This Bakugan was originally much lower on the list, however, I feel it has some potential. Unfortunately, while Ventus Barbetra has a nice core lineup of Shield and Fire Fist, the stat line of 703 is too low to take advantage of it. It does have a 10 cost Maximus evolution with the stat line of 1510 and the effect of reducing the cost of evolving by 3 for each Bakugear attached to Barbetra. You will be lucky to get 2 gears attached to this Bakugan to make it a 4 cost to play. Any less and I don't think it's worth it, especially since base form Barbetra is underpowered. While I think the idea is cool, the combination of low base stats, a format that favors Bakugan with strong base forms, and needing too many specific cards to be in hand to make it work ruins it, but perhaps a specific deck built around this Bakugan can make it work. Number 1, Hydorous Barbetra. The only Barbetra that can hold its own in base form. It has an amazing core lineup of Magic Shield and Helix, and a stat line of 406. It can reach 11 damage with its own Helix Core on the -200 +5 Helix Core, or it can swap for a teammate's Fire Fist for 12 damage, while actually being able to give value for that trade. Hydorous Barbetra has a 6 cost Maximus evolution with the stat line of 1408, as well as being the rare evolution to have more than one effect. The first effect allows it to gain 2 Frost Strike for each Bakugear attached to it, which can be deadly, and its second effect is a Victor ability of being able to draw a card for each Bakugear attached to it when it wins a brawl. I really dig the Frost Strike ability because in combination with Darkfire Defense, it is brutal. However, Aquos and Hydorous Nillious Ultra are better options for that playstyle since they gain the Frost Strike in base form, so you don't have to wait for a 6 cost evolution. That being said, you could probably make a deck with this Bakugan if you really wanted to. However, this Bakugan's number 1 placement is because Hydorous Barbetra is the only one that can put up a fight on its own in base form. Well, this has been Eenoch Blader with my worst to best video. What do you think? Do you agree or disagree? Let me know in the comment section below, and be sure to let me know your favorite Barbetra core from Bakugan Armored Alliance. And if you like this video, hit the like button, or don't. I'm not the boss of you. But be sure to subscribe and hit the notification bell so you get updated whenever I upload. Until next time, see ya. Hello my 3-headed torpedoes, it's your boy Eenoch Blader, and in this video I will be ranking each Ryerazu from worst to best. I will be ranking them by their overall competitive viability in the Bakugan Pro game. But enough talk, let's get on with the list. Number 6, Pyrus Ryerazu. The only Ryerazu to actually have an epic character card, and it's a big disappointment. First of all, it has a shield and green fist in its core lineup, so that's bad. And then the 303 stat line, which is way too low to really put up a fight against other competitive Bakugan, even when using the optimal cores. Its epic character card adds the effect of gaining double strike when a Bakugear is attached. Honestly, it isn't anything impressive, especially since you would need to win a brawl first to get the benefit, and you would have to be really lucky to win a brawl with this kind of Bakugan. Number 5, Aurelius Ryerazu. One of the more cursed Bakugan to ever be released. Double shield cores, a stat line of 604, and the effect of gaining 2 damage when on a Helix Core for some reason. I'm not sure why the effect is like that. There's absolutely no way the developers looked at Aurelius Ryerazu and thought it was so broken that it needed to be balanced in a way that made it so it gained an effect from a core that it doesn't naturally have. That being said, if you do core swap for a -200 plus 5 Helix core, you're hitting 11 damage, which is above the 10 damage minimum we want to see for a highest damage wins plays, so at least there's that. Number 4, Ryerazu. 2 green fists, which is a shame, but a stat line of 801. If you core swap for a magic shield, you reach 1450 B power, which is what we want for B power. However, with Bakugan like Hydorous from Armored Alliance and Auxillataur Ultra from Geogon Rising, there's no reason to use Ryerazu. Number 3, Ryerazu. An amazing core lineup of double magic shield and a stat line of 602. Its stats are nothing special, but being able to spare a magic shield core is always great. On top of that, it gains 2 frost strike when on a magic shield, so if you combine that with the Dark Fire Defense Baku gear, it makes for a great combination, though Nillious Ultra is better for that style. Number 2, Ryerazu. These last two were pretty close, but I'm gonna have to put Ryerazu at number 2. Ryerazu has a great core lineup of Green Fist and Helix Core and a stat line of 405 with the effect of losing 4 damage, but in turn gaining 600 B power when on a Helix Core. Meaning, on the plus 600 minus 3 Helix Core, while you do end up with 0 damage, you also get 1600 B power, which before the release of Howlkor in Geogon Rising was the highest base form B power out of any Bakugan using its own cores. Despite the title of highest B power of Armored Alliance, I placed this Bakugan second and not first because of the 0 damage. This 0 damage makes the Bakugan more of a stall type Bakugan, and also because Ventus has so many great options. In fact, if you get lucky, Ventus Dragonoid with its Maximus evolution can do a better job, and Ventus Nillious Ultra's consistent double coring capabilities makes it a major threat. However, Ryerazu is definitely a very strong Bakugan. It's just that the next Ryerazu on this list is very strong as well. Number 1, Darkest Ryerazu. I have sung the praises of Darkest Ryerazu for a while now, and for good reason. It has an amazing core lineup of Fire Fist and Helix, and a stat line of 209. When on the plus 6 Fire Fist, it hits for 15 damage, which is one of the highest damage ratings out of any base form Bakugan. On top of that, it also has a Helix Core to spare, which is great, since Helix is something Bakugan like Hydorous and Howlkor want plenty of available. Darkest Ryerazu is pretty much my overall go-to for highest damage wins plays Bakugan, only swapping it for something else depending on the specifics of the deck I use, which is why Darkest Ryerazu is the number 1 Ryerazu. Well, this has been Eenoch Blader with my worst to best video. What do you think? Do you agree or disagree? Let me know in the comment section below, and be sure to let me know your favorite Ryerazu from Bakugan Armored Alliance. And if you like this video, hit the like button, or don't, I'm not the boss of you, but be sure to subscribe and hit the notification bell so you get updated whenever I upload. Until next time, see ya! Hello my batty bats, it's your boy Eenoch Blader, and in this video I will be ranking each Batrix Ultra from worst to best. I will be ranking them by their overall competitive viability in the Bakugan Pro game. But enough talk, let's get on with the list. Number 6, Batrix Ultra. Starting off disappointingly, we have another Bakugan with a shield and green fist. The stat line of 504 doesn't help, and it's an absolute joke that it gains 4 damage on a shield core, the core known for giving boosts in B power. while Aquos Batrix has a Green Fist, the core known for having boosts in damage. Because of this, Aquos Batrix only reaches 9 damage, which is under the 10 damage minimum we want to see for highest damage wins plays. Number 5, Howlkor Batrix Ultra. A double shield core lineup which isn't anything special, and a stat line of 703, meaning on the plus 400 shield core, this Bakugan reaches 1100 B power, which would have been solid back in year 1, but at the time of this Bakugan's release, it was no good. Number 4, Hydorous Batrix Ultra. A nice core lineup of Helix and Shield, and a stat line of 702, which isn't anything special. It does have a 2-cost Hyper Evolution that bumps up the stats to 803, and adds the double strike effect when you have 2 Bakugears attached to it. Yeah, good luck with that. Number 3, Hydorous Batrix Ultra. Again, double shield core, but at least it has a stat line of 606, which means if you do a core swap for a Fire Fist or a Helix Core, you can get over that 10 damage minimum we want to see for a damage wins play, but honestly, it's not really worth the trade. Number 2, Ventus Batrix Ultra. Not much better, especially with a double Green Fist, but at least it's a Ventus Bakugan. With the 505 stat line, it can at least reach 11 damage when on a plus 6 Fire Fist, which is something I guess. Ventus Batrix Ultra has a 6-cost Maximus Evolution with the stat line of 1312 and the effect of destroying all opposing Bakugear when played, which can come in handy. However, the base form is a bit too weak to warrant the cost of its evolution in my opinion, especially since you have to time it right to make it worthwhile. Number 1, Darkest Batrix Ultra. The best Batrix Ultra released, and something that's actually used in decks. At first glance, it isn't anything too special. Yes, it has a Helix Core, but with its 604 stat line, it would need to core swap with a Fire Fist to reach that 10 damage minimum. However, the reason why this Bakugan is actually used in decks is because of its 1-cost Hyper Evolution with the stat line of 708 and the sync effect of gaining 300 B power when you reveal a card that costs 5 energy or less. Which means, when on the plus 600 minus 3 Helix Core, you are at a nice 1605 stat line, which isn't too bad for a 1-cost evolution. Hyper Batrix Ultra is one of the few evolutions to see play because of how cheap it is. Its main use is in Pyrus Sync along the likes of Ultima Dragonoid and Aquos Hydorous because of its synergy with Sync due to needing to reveal cards to gain effects, and in turn, sync cards like Howling Shell Bomb can be played for free when revealed. Well, this has been Zeonic Blader with my worst to best video. What do you think? Do you agree or disagree? Let me know in the comment section below, and be sure to let me know your favorite Batrix Ultra from Bakugan Armored Alliance. And if you like this video, hit the like button or don't. I'm not the boss of you. But be sure to subscribe and hit the notification bell so you get updated whenever I upload. Until next time, see ya! Hello my silky socks, it's your boy Zeonic Blader, and in this video, I will be ranking each Fangzor X Mantinoid from worst to best. I'll be ranking them by their overall competitive viability in the Bakugan Pro game. But enough talk, let's get on with the list. Number 4, Ventus Howlkor Fangzor X Mantinoid. A poor core lineup of double Green Fist and a stat line of 701 with the fusion cost of 6 energy. Unfused, this Bakugan is going to have a hard time against strong base form Bakugan because of its low stats. Unfortunately, even if you are able to fuse, its stats go up to 1501, which isn't good because its Green Fists boost up its damage, not B power. Number 3, Pyrus Darkest Fangzor X Mantinoid. A nice core lineup of Magic Shield and Shield with the stat line of 602 and the fusion cost of 6. Unfortunately, its base stats are too low to really keep up when unfused. When fused, however, its stats bump up to 1308, and when on the plus 800 fusion only magic shield core, this Bakugan reaches a nice 2100 B power. However, with other fusion Bakugan like Chaos Pyrus Dragonoid X Tretorous reaching similar numbers but only costing 3 to fuse, this Bakugan isn't really worth it. That being said, Pyrus Darkus Fangzor X Mantinoid is my #1 favorite looking fusion Bakugan because of that black and red color. Number 2, Aquos Ventus Fangzor X Mantinoid, a nice core lineup of shield and helix and a stat line of 603 with a fusion cost of 2, so this is pretty cheap to fuse. Unfortunately, these stats are only boosted to 805. On the plus 600 minus 3 Helix core, this Bakugan is at 1400 B power, which is 50 B power less than the top contenders for base form non-fusion Bakugan. At the very least, it can reach 10 damage on the minus 200 plus 5 Helix core, but to spend 2 energy for what many Bakugan can do in base form isn't worth it. Number 1, Aquos Aurelis Fangzor X Mantinoid, a poor core lineup of shield and green fist with a stat line of 406 and a fusion cost of 5. Luckily, because of its damage being at 6, you can use another Bakugan's damage boosting helix or Fire Fist core to reach over the 10 damage minimum we like to see for a high damage wins play. Once fused, this Bakugan's stats bump up to 815. You're going to want to focus on damage. When on the plus 5 fusion only green fist, this Bakugan is at a spicy 20 damage, though you have to take into consideration it costs 5 energy to get that fusion boost. In my opinion, I would rather use a cheaper fusion or go for the tried and true super powerful base form Bakugan with high damage like Darkus Ryerazu. Overall, the Fangzor X Mantinoid line is another fusion line where I would not recommend using any of its forms released for it, which is a shame because the actual design of it is one of my favorites ever. But anyways, this has been Zeonic Blader with my worst to best video. What do you think? Do you agree or disagree? Let me know in the comment section below, and be sure to let me know your favorite Fangzor X Mantinoid from Bakugan Armored Alliance. And if you like this video, hit the like button. Or don't, I'm not the boss of you, but be sure to subscribe and hit the notification bell so you get updated whenever I upload. Until next time, see ya. Hello my clockwork clementines, it's your boy Zeonic Blader, and in this video I will be ranking each Clopdor X Apollyon from worst to best. I'll be ranking them by their overall competitive viability in the Bakugan Pro game. But enough talk, let's get on with the list. Number 2, Aquos Ventus Clopdor X Apollyon. A poor core lineup of 2 shield cores and a stat line of 303 with a fusion cost of 2, which bumps the stats up to 704. When on the plus 500 fusion only shield core, this Bakugan reaches 1200 B power, which is too low to really put up a fight, as when this came out, Bakugan with 1450 B power in base form were the top picks, so bringing 1200 B power and having to spend 2 energy on top of that is not worth it at all. Number 1, Chaos Pyrus Clopdor X Apollyon. A nice core lineup of Fire Fist and Green Fist and a stat line of 602 and fusion cost of 6, which bumps up the stats to 1206. Damage is really all you can focus on with this Bakugan, with it reaching 14 damage on the plus 8 fusion only Fire Fist, which is nice, but to pay 6 energy to reach that state is not worth it, especially since Darkus Ryerazu can reach 15 damage in base form. Overall, these two fusion Bakugan won't fare well in a competitive setting, which is something that many fusion Bakugan can relate to. It's just so disappointing that Apollyon finally gets released just for it to be bad. But anyways, this has been Zeonic Blader with my worst to best video. What do you think? Do you agree or disagree? Let me know in the comment section below, and be sure to let me know your favorite Cloptor X Apollyon from Bakugan Armored Alliance. And if you like this video, hit the like button, or don't, I'm not the boss of you, but be sure to subscribe and hit the notification bell so you get updated whenever I upload. Until next time, see ya! Hello my Centennial Cedrics, it's your boy Eenoch Ultra, and let's be real, this worst to best is kind of short because there's only one form of Cynthius X Scorpius. So number 1, Pyrus Darkus Cynthius X Scorpius. A nice core lineup of shield and helix with a stat line of 304 and a fusion cost of 2, which bumps up the stats to 707. On the plus 600 minus 3 Helix core, this Bakugan reaches 1300 beat power, which is under the 1450 we like to see from base form Bakugan. And when on the minus 200 plus 5 Helix core, this Bakugan is at 12 damage, which is nice, but because we have to spend 2 energy to get this to it, it really isn't worth it since this is a number we see from base form Bakugan that are more damage inclined. So there it is, Cynthius X Scorpius. Only one was released and it's pretty mediocre. Well, this has been Eenoch Ultra, and if you like this video, hit the like button. Or don't, I'm not the boss of you, but be sure to subscribe and hit the notification bell so you get updated whenever I upload. Until next time, see ya! Hello my gargantuan granolas, it's your boy Eenoch Ultra, and in this video, I will be ranking each Dragonoid X Webum from worst to best. I'll be ranking them by their overall competitive viability in the Bakugan Pro game. But enough talk, let's get on with the list. Number 3. Chaos Pyrus Dragonoid X Webum, a poor core lineup of 2 shield cores with a stat line of 703 and a massive fusion cost of 9, bumping up the stats to 1805 with 5 Frost Strike. On the plus 500 fusion only shield core, this fusion is hitting 2300 B power, which considering it takes 9 energy to get is pretty low, especially since Chaos Pyrus Dragonoid X Tretorous reaches 2000 B power for only 3 energy to fuse. Number 2. Darkus Aquos Dragonoid X Webum, a nice core lineup of Fire Fist and Green Fist with an unimpressive stat line of 503 with a relatively low fusion cost of 3, which bumps the stats up to 1004. Because this Bakugan has a Fire Fist, damage is the go-to, letting it hit 12 damage when on the plus 8 fusion only Fire Fist. Having to spend 3 energy for damage that is something base form Bakugan can reach and surpass is pretty disappointing. Number 1. Pyrus Darkus Dragonoid X Webum, an amazing core lineup of 2 Fire Fist and a stat line of 502 with the effect of gaining 300 B power on a Fire Fist. Considering the most B power a Fire Fist can give is 250 B power, in total, this Bakugan reaches 1050 B power in base form, which hasn't been good since early 2019. It does have a fusion cost of 5, which bumps up the stats to 908 and lets it gain an additional 600 B power when on a Fire Fist. On the plus 250 plus 3 Fire Fist, this Bakugan reaches a stat line of 1750-11. Honestly, with power creep getting so high, 1750 B power for 5 energy really isn't worth it, which is unfortunate since this is the best Dragonoid X Webum available. The fusion curse strikes again, and unfortunately, I just found out about Bakugan hitting 1600 B power being more common in Geogon Rising, so that puts a whole damper on everything fusion related. But hey, the show must go on. But anyways, this has been Eenoch Ultra with my worst to best video. What do you think? Do you agree or disagree? Let me know in the comment section below, and be sure to let me know your favorite Dragonoid X Webum from Bakugan Armored Alliance. And if you like this video, hit the like button, or don't, I'm not the boss of you, but be sure to subscribe and hit the notification bell so you get updated whenever I upload. Until next time, see ya! Hello my hyperglycemic heliums, it's your boy Zeonic Blader, and in this video I will be ranking each Hydronoid X Krikelios from worst to best. I'll be ranking them by their overall competitive viability in the Bakugan Pro game. But enough talk, let's get on with the list. Number 4, Darkus Aquos Hydronoid X Krikelios. A nice core lineup of shield and helix with a stat line of 504 and a hefty fusion cost of 8, which bumps up the stats to 1512. On the plus 600 minus 3 helix core, this Bakugan is at 2100 B power, which isn't really impressive for something that cost 8 energy to get into. Number 3, Ventus Chaos Hydronoid X Krikelios. An amazing core lineup of 2 helix cores and a stat line of 303 with the effect of gaining 300 B power and 3 damage on a magic shield. Wait a minute, magic shield? But it has 2 helix cores. I'm not sure if this is a misprint or not, but either way, its B power is below the 1450 we want to see. It has a 5 energy fusion cost, which bumps up the stats to 707 and increases the effect bonus to 505. Best case scenario, it reaches 2100 B power on the plus 800 fusion only magic shield or 1900 B power on the plus 600 minus 3 helix core. For 5 energy, there's not really much reason to use this Bakugan since Chaos Pyrus Dragonoid X Tretorous exists and is cheaper to fuse. Number 2, Pyrus Darkus Hydronoid X Krikelios. A poor core lineup of shield and green fist and a stat line of 304 and a fusion cost of 2 that bumps the stats up to 507. While not released yet, this Bakugan also has an epic character card that adds the effect of being able to fuse for free when you play a second rapid fire card that turn. If you can get this to fuse for free, it being 12 damage when on the plus 5 fusion only green fist core is solid. Nothing special though. And number 1, Aquos Ventus Hydronoid X Krikelios. An amazing core lineup of Fire Fist and Helix and a stat line of 602 with a fusion cost of 3, bumping up the stats to 906. On the plus 8 fusion only Fire Fist, this Bakugan reaches a nice 14 damage, and when on the plus 600 minus 3 Helix core, this Bakugan reaches 1500 B power. While these stats aren't really anything special when Aquos Hydrous exists, maybe you can use this Bakugan in a mono Aquos deck. Not the worst line of fusion Bakugan, but nothing special either. It's a shame because the idea of a fusion that mixes a Hydra and Kraken is awesome. But anyways, this has been Zeonic Blader with my worst to best video. What do you think? Do you agree or disagree? Let me know in the comments section below, and be sure to let me know your favorite Hydronoid X Krikelios from Bakugan Armored Alliance. And if you like this video, hit the like button, or don't, I'm not the boss of you, but be sure to subscribe and hit the notification bell so you get updated whenever I upload. Until next time, see ya! Hello my menial minotaurs, it's your boy Zeonic Blader, and in this video I will be ranking each Maxodon X Centaur from worst to best. I'll be ranking them by their overall competitive viability in the Bakugan Pro game. But enough talk, let's get on with the list. Number 2, Ventus Chaos Maxodon X Centaur. Now, this one actually has better stats than the one I ranked in first place. However, this Bakugan has a core lineup of shield and helix, but can only evolve when on a magic shield, forcing you to core swap. And if you do get that magic shield, it doesn't really seem much like a trade-off, as when fused, its stats are 606, meaning when on the plus 800 fusion only magic shield, it's at 1400 B power, which is below the 1450 B power we wanted to see back when this was released. Talking about releases, this is a Bakugan that's only available in diamond form, so if you like this design, then good luck because it's rare. Speaking of diamond forms, this Bakugan has a 6 cost diamond evolution with a stat line of 1515, letting it reach 2300 B power on the plus 800 magic shield. The thing is, an evolution is going to need to do more if it costs 6 energy, like Maximus Pegatrix Ultra with its core stealing effect, or Diamond Hydorous reaching a stat line of 2713. There are so many better Bakugan that deserve the Magic Shield core swap. Number 1, Aquos Ventus Maxodon X Zentar. Not really better than the previous mention on the list, but at least it has the cores it needs for its effect, with a nice core lineup of Magic Shield and Shield, and a stat line of 205, with the effect of being able to fuse when on the Magic Shield core, which bumps up its stats to 407. When on the plus 800 Magic Shield, this Bakugan reaches 1200 B power, which isn't anything special. Honestly, this could be last place on the list, but both of these Bakugan are pretty bad, so it's pretty close, which is a shame, since once again, this is a design I really liked. But anyways, this has been Zeonic Blader with my worst to best video. What do you think? Do you agree or disagree? Let me know in the comment section below, and be sure to let me know your favorite Maxodon X Zentar from Bakugan Armored Alliance. And if you like this video, hit the like button, or don't, I'm not the boss of you, but be sure to subscribe and hit the notification bell so you get updated whenever I upload. Until next time, see ya! Hello my soulful sandwiches, it's your boy Zeonic Blader, and in this video, I will be ranking each Sabre x Pyravian Ultra from worst to best. I'll be ranking them by their overall competitive viability in the Bakugan Pro game. But enough talk, let's get on with the list. Number 3. Pyrus Aurelis Sabre x Pyravian Ultra, a poor core lineup of Shield and Green Fist with a stat line of 701 and a fusion cost of 5, which bumps up the stats to 812. For this Bakugan, damage will be its main focus, reaching 17 damage when on the plus 5 fusion only Green Fist. Unfortunately, in a meta where Darkest Ryerazu can reach 15 damage in base form, having a fusion Bakugan that hits only 2 more damage while having to spend 5 energy to get to that isn't worth it. Number 2. Aquos Aurelis Sabre x Pyravian Ultra. Once again, a poor core lineup of Shield and Green Fist with a stat line of 402 and a fusion cost of 4, which bumps up the stats to 1105. These stats are pretty balanced, letting it reach 1600 B power on the plus 500 fusion only Shield Core and 10 damage on the plus 5 fusion only Green Fist. Unfortunately, those are stats that can be obtained by Bakugan in base form, so having to spend 4 energy just to get to that isn't worth it. Number 1. Darkest Aurelis Sabre x Pyravian Ultra. An amazing double Helix Core lineup with a stat line of 404 and a fusion cost of 4, which bumps the stats up to 908. These stats are pretty balanced, similar to its Aquos Aurelis counterpart, but with more damage and a better core lineup. On the plus 600 minus 3 Helix Core, it's at 1500 B power, and when on the minus 200 plus 5 Helix Core, it's at 13 damage. These stats would be amazing on a base form Bakugan, but because you need to spend 4 energy to get to this, it loses its luster. In fact, that seems to be a pattern with many fusion Bakugan, where their fused forms would actually be good, but because the fusion cost is so high, it really isn't worth using over strong base form Bakugan. Which is a shame because fusion could have given many Bakugan who didn't have much play in year 1 a chance to be competitive. But anyways, this has been Zeonic Blader with my worst to best video. What do you think? Do you agree or disagree? Let me know in the comment section below, and be sure to let me know your favorite Sabre x Pyravian Ultra from Bakugan Armored Alliance. And if you like this video, hit the like button. Or don't, I'm not the boss of you. But be sure to subscribe and hit the notification bell so you get updated whenever I upload. Until next time, see ya!